Which is surprising.
Aloha, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the February edition of the EVA Neighborhood Board. We will start with the rules of speaking. Do I have a volunteer on the board? Alex? Bueller?
Sure, I'll go. All right, aloha. This is your community public forum. Your input and cooperation are really appreciated. The EVA Neighborhood Board is an advisory board, and we provide fairness, integrity, and collaboration to all to increase and assure effective citizen participation in the decisions of government. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise their hand, and when recognized by the chair, to address comments to the chair. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments under 1 minute, one turn per person. Those giving reports are urged to keep the reports less than 3 minutes and presentations under 10 minutes. Please silence all electronic devices. The board will make a good faith effort to provide the public with opportunity to observe the meeting as it happens and an opportunity to provide oral testimony without a physical presence in the physical meeting room. Please ensure that your computer or phone is muted unless you are speaking. The board may take action on any agenda item. As required by state sunshine law, specific issues not noted on this agenda cannot be voted on unless added to the agenda. A 2/3 vote, 8 of this 11-member board is needed to add an item to the agenda. Items may not be added if they are of major importance and will affect a significant number of people.
Thank you, Board Member Gauss. We're moving on to introduction of board members. Start with the gentleman to my right and move on from there.
Good evening, Mitchell Tainanis.
Good evening, everyone. Alexander Gauss.
Hello, John Rogers.
Susan Gorman Chang.
Aloha, Zach Espino.
Corey Rosenlee.
And we have 2 members that are joining us virtually. Please introduce yourself.
Trey Gordner.
Aloha, Mike Plowman.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. And my name is John Clark, and I'll be serving as chair this evening. Moving on to public safety first responder reports. Start with Honolulu Fire. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Firefighter Rooney with the Beach Fire Station, and I'm going to be reading some statistics for January of 2025. So for fires, we had 5 wildland brush fires, 8 nuisance fires, which encompasses rubbish fires outside of a structure or vehicle. We had 1 cooking fire, 15 activated alarms with no fire. Then for emergencies, we had 206 medical emergencies, 5 motor vehicle crash collisions, 3 hazardous materials incidents. Fire safety tips and announcements for February will be power outage preparedness. Here are a few ways you and your family can be prepared for a power outage. Prepare your supplies. Ensure your flashlights, radios, etc. contain batteries that are charged. Don't forget to charge extra batteries. Prepare your family. Check in with your family members. If anyone relies on medical devices requiring power, ensure you plan ahead of time. Prepare your food and water. Set your fridge and freezer to the coldest setting. Keep them closed as much as possible during an outage and fill up water containers for drinking and other needs. Protect your electronics. Unplug unnecessary electronics to prevent damage from power surges. Never touch down power lines. Always assume lines are energized and dangerous. And for more safety tips, please visit honolulu.gov/DEM to learn more about power outages, and also at hawaiianelectric.com/storm center. Mahalo.
Thank you. Wait. Any questions from board members?
Sorry, any questions?
I have one. You mentioned 3 hazmat events. Can you give specifics and what the trend is? For example, what was last month? Did you have any last month? A couple months before that, etc.?
I don't have that information on me right now, but I can go ahead and relay that information to our liaison office and we can get it back to you.
Okay. Because I think it's like gas bills or something like that along those lines.
Not that I recall, but again, I'm not too sure yet, but I can make sure I definitely follow up with that. So, and that's specifically for the hazardous materials incidents, right?
Yes, and also trend data. For example, HPD provides us 6 months of data of like motor vehicle thefts, burglaries, things like that. So just something that the board can track, because we don't know what, for example, for the past 3 months, we may have had 0 hazmat events, and then all of a sudden we have 3.
Uh-huh.
Then that's something maybe we want to share with the community. It's a trend developing or something like that.
Okay. Also trending.
Just like the past 3 months or 4 months of data.
Okay. I do know each month we do have our statistics. I don't know if we don't normally do the actual trending ourselves. We just give for each month, but I can definitely bring it to their attention, and then we'll definitely follow up with you afterwards
Okay.
with that.
Any questions or comments from the community? Seeing none?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Please state your name.
My name is Carswell Ross. I live Ever Beach in the townhomes, and we're having a parking problem in terms of the city and county areas where there's on the streets. Some people are parking in the crosswalks and other places that are city and county property. And the associations have been trying to get at least more police patrols, especially in the evening when people come home, because that's when people start parking their cars in these areas. And we're kind of worried that kids can't ride bicycles even across the street because somebody has their car parked in the crosswalks. So I'm wondering, and I know that the police department is down something like 400 positions, but I wonder, is there some way that there could be a coordinated activity to go through and ticket these individuals who are doing this in our neighborhood?
Okay, sir. Thank you for your question. We're right now we have firefighter that's at the podium.
Oh,
we
I'm
can-
sorry. I thought he was a police officer. I'm just
That's
looking at him
okay.
too.
I
Yeah.
can relate to the subject matter expert right after me, so no worries.
He's in uniform and he puts his life on the line every day, just like HPD. So, but we'll move on to HPD, and Officer Pagan can probably address this from here.
Anything else for fire department? HFD, no? Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Moving on to HPD, Officer Pagan.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, board members, members of the community, Corporal Pagan, Town Police Department, District 8 Community Policing. I do have your stats for January. In January, we had 33 motor vehicle thefts, 10 in our area, 17 burglaries, 1 in our area, 132 thefts, 23 in our area, 20 unauthorized entries into a motor vehicle, 3 in our area, a total of 8,357 calls for service. There's 2,163 in our area. Going back to last month regarding the fireworks, what I could find was in 2023, we had 168 calls for service in December. For the year, we had 564. In 2024, we had 157 in December from the 1st to the 31st. Total of 543 for the year. So I know we had more than 543 fireworks go off, but that's the amount of calls that we got for service. In regards to Mr. Ross's question, sir, if you call 911 and report the parking violations, we'll have an officer go down there and take a look. We have quite a bit of communities, a growing community. People kind of tend to park wherever. So there is a quality of life issue that goes on there. But if you call us, we'll go and take a look and see what we can do. Officers don't generally just drive around and looking for parking violations. So it's best that you call so we can target the area that's a concern for you. That's all I got. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
No,
Questions
I
from,
want to thank you for your advice. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Ross. Questions from the board members? Seeing none in the meeting space. Questions from board members online? Seeing none. Questions from members of the community? Seeing none. Officer Pagan, thank you. You want to shift your hat around and
Sure.
we'll move it on to weed and seed.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, board members, members of the community. Corporal Pagan, Town Police Department, District 8, Weed and Seed. The only thing I did want to mention about Weed and Seed is on March 8th, believe from 10 till 1, The U.S. Attorney, we're going to be working with the U.S. Attorney and some other law enforcement agencies. Is going to be a Celebrate Safer Communities Fair at Pearl Ridge. I don't know if it's called Uptown or Downtown, but where Macy's is on that side. They're also going to have some static displays in the parking lot, HFD, HPD vehicles, I think some of the National Guard vehicles as well. It's an opportunity to come out and talk to some other law enforcement agencies, get some information, some tips. And a lot of them got goodies to give away. So other than that, that's all I have for that.
Questions from board members regarding that? Seeing none, just what day was that on? Quote?
March 8th.
March 8th,
Yes.
and that's a
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch?
Let's talk about weed and seed funding. I know it's always a problem. So what can we do as a community? We have all our reps, we have our senators, we have our city council members. I mean, they push for us as well. But as the community, what can we do to keep having weed and seed, here?
Very good question. For those of you that don't know, Weed and Seed is a nonprofit. We rely heavily on government grants, city grants, state grants, as well as federal grants. Our director, Gail Braceros, is always looking for money to keep the programs running. The idea behind the program is we weed out the bad seed and the good. With youth programs and Kapuna programs cost money to run. So she's always looking for money for that. The only thing I can really suggest is continue to talk to all of your legislators, representatives, city council members, call the finance committee, call the city council, let them know that you guys want to keep weed and seed in your community. Believe it or not, right now, there's a lot of communities that are looking for a program like this. Weed and Seed is actually only in 3 communities, Waipahu, downtown Chinatown area, and Pebble Beach. Downtown actually is combined with Chinatown as well as Kalihi area. So we are fortunate to have that in our community. The programs that they work with, the people that we work with, getting the community involved is instrumental in helping to weed out a lot of the crime that we deal with in our communities, as well as reaching out to our kids in our kapuna. So again, talk to your elected officials, let them know that you appreciate the programs and that you wanted to keep it funding. Thank you.
Follow-up question to that. Thanks for that question, Mitch. Good question. And when I've done fundraisers in the past on the websites that I've done, I've put a form on there so that people can just download that form, fill it out, and send it into their legislator. I don't know. I haven't seen the Weed and Seed website lately, so is that something maybe you could do?
I can talk to the director and see what she can do about setting something up like that.
Okay, and
Thank
then
you.
we could put that out here at the neighborhood board.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Pagan. We're on to board administration and planning. We're going to defer approval of regular meeting minutes. We had a somewhat of a snafu with the meeting minutes, so we had an error and we inadvertently went further back in history than we wanted to. We went back to November and posted November minutes instead of January 2025 minutes. So we'll move that to next board meeting. The second item is one that I asked Jeffrey to put on the agenda, and it's just a discussion, and we can have a 2-minute, 3-minute, or 15-minute discussion. But I just want to keep this at the fore of our mind. We had talked at one time about changing the traffic pattern at the intersection of Kapolei Parkway and Geiger. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this, coming from the Refuge Center, headed towards like Foodland, when you come to that intersection, the far right lane, what we'd like to do is make that a right turn only lane. If we make it a right turn only lane, then it makes traffic flow through that area much easier. Because as it stands now, the first car on the far right lane could just stay there, not have to turn right, and then traffic backs up in that area quite a ways. So we had discussed it at the board previously, but we didn't make any particular commitments about a resolution or anything like that. So any comments from the board? Right, go ahead.
Right at Geiger and Kapolei Park. So the only concern I get is to follow up what you said about the traffic backing up, because coming out of the new community, it comes onto Geiger, where they're fronting the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes,
That's where we had, I think, 2 deaths already, and we're still waiting for a traffic light there.
yes, that's a little further
Yeah,
back though.
back, but that's how far the traffic kind of backs up.
Oh, that far?
Yeah, so, okay, I see what you're trying to get at. Okay.
So, John, as you approach that intersection, Geiger, as you approach Kapolei Parkway, the far right lane, in my opinion, should be a right turn only lane. Townbound. Yeah. Yes. And you turn right to go to like Papipi. I believe we brought it up at a previous meeting, but it's been some time since we talked about it. So, can you grab the mic? Grab the mic.
That might be the right way to go, is to write a letter
Mhm.
from the neighborhood board and ask the city to do a traffic study on that. And then they would be able to, because they're not going to do anything unless they agree.
Right.
I mean, you could write all the resolutions in the world. So maybe a letter, what you want us to, the transportation committee to.
Oh,
draft-
John, yes,
to
I would
draft a
absolutely
letter.
love that. That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so we will draft a letter to the city asking them to take a look at that intersection.
Okay.
And because I got to go look at it because I don't drive that area.
I have some pictures on my phone. I'll show them to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Alex?
Sorry, I had to step out. Were you talking about in both directions? Because I remember a previous comment in the one going about westbound was also that same. You're talking about the right turn lane, right?
The right turn lane, yes.
You're talking about the one though going eastbound, because someone else spoke about that at a previous meeting going westbound as well. I think it's an issue going both ways. So maybe.
Right, Julie mentioned going westbound towards Nanakuli. I haven't seen traffic back up in there like it does on the other lane though. But I mean, they can still look at it. Yeah. Because the other lane is a right turn only lane. As you're coming south on Kapolei Parkway, that far right lane is a right turn only lane, and traffic moves pretty swiftly. through
No,
there.
so I was talking about going westbound though. That's also
I'm tracking.
a both right and straight.
Right.
And you're saying you haven't seen traffic there.
Trey, online, you had a comment or question?
Yes, I support the idea. I agree. I take that route to and from every single day because it's the route I take to daycare for my son. I also wanted to mention, while we're working on that letter, if we could add the intersection up that road at Philippine C as well. There was a very bad accident there recently. The specific issue at Philippine C is coming eastbound, there will be people waiting to turn left. It's a 2-lane road. There'll be people waiting to turn left in oncoming traffic, and it's quick around that curve. And people will roll onto the side around to continue going straight around the person turning left. And I've seen one bad accident there that definitely sent people to the hospital earlier this year. And I've seen several close calls. So Philippine C is, kind of this intersection, and then it goes around to the refuse, and then it goes to that other intersection you're describing. So if we're going to write a letter about kind of issues on Geiger/Roosevelt, might as well mention both of them.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to entertain a motion for the Transportation Committee to draft a letter regarding the road. And we'll get the specifics of the writing down, but basically those two areas. We know what you're talking about, Trey, and that's actually an excellent suggestion. So, got that, Transportation Committee, guys?
I move, whatever.
Okay. Board- Okay.
Question, will this letter come back to the board for final approval? Is that how? Just gonna sign it.
What you would do is, with the board making the motion, well, you made the motion, it does require a second, just for the formality of the motion, but making the motion for the board to approve it, you would just come back to the board next month and say, I sent the letter out, this was the response, or I sent the letter out and I'm still waiting for a response. So you don't have to present the letter at the next board meeting before sending it.
Okay, does the chair sign the letter or do the co-chairs of the transportation committee? Transfer, okay. All right. I will forward the letter to the board before I send it out, just for
Cool.
last minute.
Yeah, and I'll sign it because I want to take credit, so.
All right.
I was just joking, John. So, you know, you guys work pretty well independently. But can I get a second motion? We have 2 seconds. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
No abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, board members. Okay, and we have 3 presentations tonight, possibly 4. We'll start with the increase in sewer service charges. Department of Environmental Services.
Good evening, Chair and board members, members of the public. My name is Roger Babcock. I'm Director of the Department of Environmental Services for the city. Environmental Services takes care of all of your wastewater, and your solid waste, your rubbish. So we collect the 3 carts that you put out every week, and we also take care of the sewage. So in terms of sewage, that means 2,100 miles of pipelines, about 40,000 manholes, 71 wastewater pump stations, and 9 wastewater treatment plants around the island. And the closest one to you folks is Honouliuli here in Ewa Beach, which is the second largest treatment plant in the city and in the state. So I did have a handout for the board members. That information and a lot more information about sewer fees is on our website, honolulu.gov/ENV. And there's a banner at the top that says sewer fees, and you can get it. There are a few copies on the back table as well if anybody wants them. And if you want one and you didn't get one, you can see me after I have it for you. The sewer enterprise, like drinking water, is an enterprise service, which means it's separate from property taxes and other forms of tax. We only get money from sewer fees, from the monthly bill that residents get, multifamily residential gets, apartments, businesses, everybody gets a sewer bill, and that's how the work is funded. So we don't get property tax money. So what that means, though, is that the sewer fees need to match the revenue requirements. The revenue requirements are the expenses that we have every month. And the expenses are large. We have takes about 800 people to sewer service for the city. And so there's people. There's a lot of other expenses, including electricity, and we buy a lot of diesel fuel and many other consumable things to run all of the operations that we have. The other main part of monthly expenses or outlays is for debt service. So Board of Water Supply and us separate from the main city general obligation bonds, we issue our own debt. So we issue municipal sewer bonds. And so every year we sell bonds, and that is a source of income to pay for construction projects, only construction projects. And sewer bonds are 30 years in duration generally. They're low interest. They're very close. We have a very high credit rating, AA+. So we get bond rates that are very similar to Treasury rate, about 4% now. But we do have a lot of outstanding debt, and basically that is like buying a house. It's like a mortgage. So it's 30 years in duration. You pay principal and interest, and we get good terms. So we have a 5-year principal and interest delay at the beginning of all of our. We don't start paying anything for 5 years. But we've issued debt every year, so we're always paying off past debt. Like a mortgage, we also get to refinance our debt whenever interest rates are lower than whatever the bond was when it was issued, and we do that every year. And it saves tens of millions of dollars over the life of the bonds. But anyway, we are at a point, what I'm here to talk about is that the need to raise the sewer fees. The sewer fees, so you know, it may or may not seem like it to you, but sewer fees were last increased on July 1st of 2016. So nearly 9 years ago since the sewer fees have been increased. During that time, of course, fees or charges or expenses for everything has increased, as you're well aware. And so every function of the city is subject to that same those same inflationary pressures. But so what do we do? I told you kind of what we take care of. And we have, in addition to increasing expenses for like consumables and wages and things like that, we also have a very large construction program. Construction program, as I mentioned, is mostly debt financed, but it's also partly cash financed. About 25% is cash. So some of the money that comes in from the sewer fund, sewer fees, does go into the bank and is used to pay for part of the construction projects. And we do a lot of construction projects. In a typical year, we do $400 million or so of construction projects. And again, we're only paying for part of that in cash, 100 million or so. The rest is debt. And so debt is fair. It's a fair thing to do, kind of like your house. You benefit from these projects for a very long period of time. It wouldn't be correct to pay for everything with cash, because cash means the people today paid for the whole thing for something that lasts 30 years. So it is equitable to debt finance things over the long term, because the benefits of that thing are long term. And the people, if you pay for it all at once, then those people might be gone and they didn't get the benefit for the thing they paid for. So anyway, that's kind of the way that works. But we have increasing costs for all kinds of stuff. We have to, it's a very regulated industry. So we have permits from the EPA and the State Department of Health, and those are renewed every 5 years. And what's required in terms of treatment and the operations gets more strict every 5 years. And so we have to do upgrades. We also have to do replacement of aging infrastructure. Some infrastructure is 100 years old, some is much newer than that, and there's everything in between. So we have a replacement cycle and rehabilitation and updating and modernizing. And some of those modernizations are to save energy and be more efficient. And so that's a continuous part of our program. So what we do is we do a rate study, and this started in 2023, where we evaluate all of our current expenses and project those out into the future through 2040. And then you determine your revenue requirements for all those years, and then you determine what the difference is between that and what it is today, and you figure out what percentage increase you need in each of the coming years. So we did do that study. Then we had a stakeholder advisory group that met for 6 or 8 months and helped determine what was the best fee increase structure that to do. And we came up with a 10-year rate package. And the reason for the 10-year rate package is because one of the big projects we have is called a consent decree, which was entered into between the city and the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. EPA, the State Department of Health, and several non-governmental organizations in order to settle a bunch of lawsuits and violations and things that had happened before that, and require a bunch of projects over a 25-year period from 2010 till 2035. So we're now at 2025. There's 10 years left, and there's one big project to finish as part of the consent decree. And it will take that 10 years. And so that's why we're doing a 10-year rate package, so that the fees would not have to be revisited again until we're done with this really big project that we have to do mandated by the courts. So that's called the consent decree project, and that is the upgrade of the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. And by the way, the Honouliuli wastewater treatment plant here in Ewa Beach was just finished its upgrade that was required in the consent decree last year. It was due to be done in June of last year. It was finished a little bit early, and it's running fantastic. And if you ever get excited about seeing a wastewater treatment plant, I'm happy to take you out there. It is really nice. That sounds strange, but it is a really nice facility that you went on a tour. Looks pretty nice, yeah. Anyway, it's very impressive. And so you do get good stuff for your money. But anyway, with all of this combined means that we need to raise the fees. And so what we have proposed is 9% this year. And so an average bill for an average user is about $100 right now. It's going to go up $10 a month. And then the next year, a year later, it's going to go up another 9%, another 9%. For 6 years in a row, it's got to go up 9%. And then it goes up 8, 7, 6, and 5% after that in the out years. And just so you know, of all those numbers that I just gave you, 3% of that is inflation. So a chunk of it, big chunk of it's inflation. So that will get us to where we need to be. That compounds and adds up to 115%, doubling of the bills. And I did pass out an example of what that actually means for different types of users. Not everybody's bills double. It really depends on how much water you use. And that's what's needed to match our revenue requirements. And again, about half of our expenses is debt service. The other half is wages and salaries and current expenses for each year. But those are going up, as I mentioned, because we have a lot of existing debt and we have to issue more debt. And let's see, I wanted to talk about how the bill works. Most people get a bill, it looks like this. This is the Board of Water Supply bill on this side. This is E&V, your sewer bill on this side. And they are related. The water bill is just for water, but the sewer bill is based partly on how much water you used. So there's two pieces, and it's all shown in there, quantified, two pieces of your sewer bill. One piece is the fixed charge, the base charge. That doesn't change every month. That number hasn't changed again since July 1st of 2016. It's $77.55 for a single family resident. It's a little bit less for multifamily. And then there's a volumetric charge. Volumetric charge is based on how much water you use, the number of thousands of gallons that you used in the prior month. And that is the same way you're charged for your drinking water bill. It's based on the thousands of gallons used. So what's done is you take that amount that you used of water, we do a calculation where we reduce it by 20%. We say 20% is for, we assume you used for outside irrigation and it didn't become sewage. So you're charged for 80% of the water you used as a sewage charge. For every 1,000 gallons, you pay $4.63 per 1,000 gallons for your sewer bill. So you get the $77.55 plus the volumetric charge. This is my sewer bill here, and my total is $100.70. My water bill is $49.41. My sewer bill is $100.70. And so 77 of that is the fixed charge, and 25 is the volumetric charge. So the more water you use, the more you pay on your sewer bill. The less water you use, the less you pay on your sewer bill and your water bill, right? And so I want to mention two things about how two things about how we're changing the bill. One is we're changing that proportion of the base charge and the fixed charge. And we're also instituting a customer assistance program. I'll mention the customer assistance program first. So that's called CARES. And basically you could qualify based on income. If you're 80% or less of the area median income for the household income, you'd qualify for a $20 to $25 per month reduction of your base charge. And so that would be a credit that you could continue to have as long as you qualified for it, if you're qualified with a lower income. The other thing is we're changing the proportion of the bill that's a base charge. The numbers I just gave you show that it's about 75% of the bill is base charge and only 25% is volumetric, which means that you have very little control of your bill. We're changing that to 50-50. So the base charge will only be about half of the bill, which means that conservation of water, using less water, has a greater reduction in your bill. Right now, if you say use 1,000 less gallons per month, you save $4.63. In the future, you'll save closer to $20 by using 1,000 gallons less. So the other handout here shows what typical bills are. And I did want to point out that it really does make a big difference how much water you use in terms of how much your bill is going to go up. If you only use 2,000 gallons a month, which is 10% of the people, their bill only goes up $2 a month because they already got a pretty small bill and their volume is very small. But as you use more and more water, the bill goes up more and more over time. So hopefully that's not too complicated. I threw out a lot of numbers, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And we do have more information on our website as well. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Director. Actually, very informative presentation. I wish we could have put some of the information up on the screen. This
Sorry about
good data. Any questions from members of the board? Yes, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. So I'm curious. I had two questions. So one, I'm trying to, and this is my own ignorance, so I don't really, understand like what are you basically here and just telling us, or, how does that work? I'm not too familiar with ENV. I know what the services are provided, but I don't know. Is this like You're just coming here and telling community and informing us. So I like to hear that. And then my other question is, there was no increase for 9 years. And then now there's this, 120 in the example you give here for the 9,000 liters or gallons. It's a 125% increase approximately. And so I'm just wondering why there was no increase for so long. And then now we're getting slammed with these. I mean, for the average person here in Eva Beach, that's a huge increase. And so that's obviously going to be a struggle for a lot of people. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your questions. So the first one is, as part of the process of getting a rate increase, sewer rates are in ordinance, and so that they're in law. And so the ordinance says what the charge is, and it ends right now at 2016, and there is no other any other numbers in there. So in order to do that, it has to go through City Council. City Council has to we have to amend the law. We propose to the city, to the council, for the amendment to the law to add in the next 10 years of these rates that we've proposed here. So that goes to council. It requires 3 readings because it's an ordinance, and it's gotten through 1 reading and it has 2 more. So it will be at least 2 more months and committee meetings and public hearings before this can take effect. So that's why we're here, is to let the people know that there is it's a public process, to pass these, and they do have to be approved by City Council. And then your second question was, well, how come we didn't do this sooner, and it could have been smaller? And that's a great question. We came into office, I've only part of this administration, we came into office in COVID, and during that time, it really wasn't possible to raise fees of any kind. It wouldn't have passed. Not that it's necessarily a great time now either, but we just can't wait any longer, because we'll start to not be able to qualify. You have to have certain reserves for your debt. And if you don't have enough, then you go in default with the banks. So we do have to raise the rates. But if it had been, say, 3% per year all through the last 9 years, then we would be looking at much smaller numbers than this. So you're correct. I can't say why it wasn't done before. There had been some large increases before, and then there was this period of no increases, kind of for some relief. And then, it would be better not to have the seesaw and just have steady increases.
Okay, thank you. Hernandez, you had a question? And then Corey.
How does it work? Because a lot of our older homes in Eva Beach are cesspool. So how does that work? I know before you guys are coming saying that we had a mandatory, we had to change the cesspool, hook up to, that's a cost to our community, where it's the owner's cost to, get the tie-ins, fill in the cesspool and all that. And then now we're going to have to pay a sewer bill. So how does all that work for the older houses?
Sure. Yeah. So there's about 1,000 homes in the area that don't have sewer connection. So they don't pay a sewer bill, right? So they're not getting this bill now. But everybody that has a sewer connection, does get a sewer bill. You're referring to the cesspool ban, which is a state law. It's not a city enforced or city project. It is a state ban that is in 2050. 2050, the cesspools are supposed to all be upgraded. And that's mandated and enforced by the State Department of Health. The city does have projects, though, to put sewers in, including in that neighborhood. That is a project that has been, that's in the works, I guess you'd say. It hasn't been approved and funded to happen yet, but you're correct. The way the city ordinance works is if there's a sewer in your street, you must be connected. You can't have an on-site system. So whenever the city gets around to bringing a sewer to neighborhoods that don't have them, then people will be required to connect.
Okay.
And so we'll have a lot more about that when we actually have a project
Thank you.
to go through.
Corey, did you have a question or comment?
So one of the questions I have is, it seems like this is a regressive manner, regardless of your income, property tax, where you live, it's the same rate. And since most of it is based on a fixed rate, my question is, first one is this, so let's say we have a hotel room or hotel.
Yeah.
What is their rate?
The hotel rate. So basically, the way the rates work is it's called an equivalent single family dwelling unit. which is basically a certain amount of flow associated with single-family homes. So for a hotel, every hotel room is one equivalent single-family dwelling unit.
And are they charged at the same rate then?
Exactly the same rate. Yeah.
Has there been any discussion of how to make this? So it seems to me like whether you own a 500 square foot apartment or a 5,000 square foot house, that your fixed rate is going to be the same.
That's correct.
Has there been any discussion about how we can make this progress more progressive like the rest of our taxation system?
Yeah, so it's a good question. That is something that has never been done here or anywhere else.
Okay.
And so it isn't really part of the rate rate options, unfortunately. But I did want to mention, just because it was asked, that we have residential and non-residential rate payers. 140,000 out of 150,000 of our customers are residential, single family and multifamily. Only about 9,000 are institutional, federal, state, apartment, commercial, hotels, restaurants, all those others. But the proportion of flow and the proportion of fees collected is directly proportional to the water use. So it's not like residents are subsidizing commercial, or commercial is subsidizing residents.
Okay.
So we were very careful about that with the fees.
Any questions from members of the board online? Mr. Plowman?
All right, so real quick, I wondered if you could quickly speak to the options available to people who believe their irrigation might represent more than 20% of their overall bill.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we do have what's called a metering program, irrigation metering program. So if you use more, or believe you use more than 20% of your water for irrigation, you can put on a sub meter. And so that's a meter that you would connect to your irrigation system. And then every month, it has to be approved. You have to get a permit for it, fortunately. But anyway, you can install that. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have them because with big yards. And then every month you read the reading on the meter and you email it into environmental services. And then we base your bill on the actual percentage of water that was not used as irrigation for your bill, instead of assuming the 20%.
Okay, excellent question, Mike. Thanks. Trey, you had a question or comment?
A couple of questions. The primary one, we're looking at a very long time scale for these rate increases, the projected SIP costs. So what assumptions are you making about population growth or decline when you determine, basically the base number of, say, residential units that are going to be bearing the costs of the CIP?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. So it basically assumes zero growth or very, very small amount of growth, because actual growth is negative. So really, it's risky to assume negative. So we assume pretty much flat in terms of population.
But if I may follow up, how much of the CIP investments would actually increase capacity, say, to support additional wastewater capacity for TOD?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do have a lot of projects already programmed associated with TOD. And so the proportion, I guess I don't really have a good answer for how much of the capital project is associated with TOD. But some portion of it is associated with TOD. There's a whole series of projects that move water around Pearl Harbor, because Foster Village is comes all the way out here to Eva, and so all that wastewater comes all the way around and over to Honolulu. And so there's a series of projects to upgrade there, and one of those is because of the stadium project. There isn't an inadequate capacity to build all the development that's proposed for the stadium.
Thank you, Director.
I guess what I'm getting at is, if we're assuming that the population is flat, but we're making these significant investments, along the rail line, at the stadium, and so forth, that would actually be serving new ratepayers, that seems like a possibly overly strict way to model how much the sewer rates will actually need to increase.
That's a good comment. Thank you, Trey. I appreciate it. And we have to move on in the interest of time. However, there's obviously significant interest in this. Could it be possible if you came back to next month's meeting or a subsequent meeting, if you can't make next month's meeting, second Thursday every month we're here? And if you cannot make it, then someone else from your area?
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll just make sure to coordinate and get on this calendar and we'll do it.
Okay,
No
thank you
problem.
very much. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. We have a comment from Rep. Yeah, yeah. What's wrong with them? You turn the mic off.
Hello, Chair, members. My question is, you guys get that project right in front, Canal on Nart Road, that sewer project. Is that your guys' project, right? Fort River. We've been having that sewer there and not, I mean, it hasn't been on construction almost over 1 year now. I get a couple questions. My first question is, why is it taking so long? And when is your completion date in that area?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I do, want to apologize to the community. That project has taken a long time. That was actually a sewer collapse. It's far underground. There's an overpass there and there's a culvert. There's actually 2 culverts under there and the sewer pipe is 10 feet below the bottom of the lowest culvert. And so it's a very difficult place to get to. But construction is about to start. We finally got all our permits. So the answer to your main question is it took us a long time to get permits. But we now have our permits. That's actually a state road. So we also have to coordinate with DOT. So it's not a city road. So we can't just do what we want. We have to get permission from DOT. And so we now have all our permissions and construction is going to start very soon and should be done within just a few months. So just so you know, it's a complicated project. We're going to be doing tunneling. So you'll see a tunnel machine, which is going to dig a tunnel parallel to the pipe that's bad. So all the stuff you see out there has been to bypass because the pipe is gone. So we had to bypass. Yeah.
Another question, quick one. There was, over the past November, the heavy rain and just a few weeks ago, the other heavy rain came in. The canal went back up. The water went overflow, damaged a couple of the houses. All these houses still don't have a floor to cut out some of the drywall. These community residential guys been living with no carpet, no flooring. And some of them don't have flood insurance. How is the city working with the families out there?
Yeah, so I think that the flooding, so I can bring it back to the city. That's a different department than us because that's drainage. So the drainage, I believe the drainage way belongs to the city, but I'm not positive. I'll have to check. And so I don't really know what efforts are going on associated with that flooding.
Thank you.
Just one quick, I know it's not a question. It's not a question. Over the past 30 years, that houses never did get flooded. Somehow where the sand clears out, but because of the construction in that area, these residents had all black backflow, some of them even 2 feet in their house, just to let you guys know. And we're looking for someone to take accountability.
And I appreciate that. What I would like to see more of is our elected officials, instead of just broadcasting this at the meeting, bring solutions on how you can help effectuate change. So let me finish. I understand it's important, and believe me, it's important, because if I was that resident, I would want someone bringing this up at this meeting. But just putting it out there doesn't really solve things. When the other city and county officials come up, perhaps Augie T and others, that might be the good time to bring it up instead of this gentleman who's presenting on a different topic.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll take that in
Thank you.
and I'm also working on it also, so
Okay,
not like I'm not doing on. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next presentation, Verizon Tower.
Aloha, I had a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so I want to show you this really quick as part of my testimony.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Well,
Okay.
Tara, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
we moved on from the
No, no,
previous
I have
topic.
my hand raised all this time. I have my hand raised for the sewer.
I understand that, Tara, but we're gonna move on. Thank you.
I had a comment about the sewer. I'm listening right now. Look, I'm in the Ko'olau Loa Neighborhood Board meeting. And I just want to share this because they're talking about construction and they're talking about this issue, listening to both now. I wanted to say this about the sewer.
Okay,
know
Tara,
that-
Tara, you have 1 minute. Please conform to the time limit. Thank you.
Yes. So I want to
Go.
say that the sewer, my question also is to Babcock. When is enough enough? And and I also have a follow-up question because I was trying to listen in both meetings at the same time. That is this for Ever Beach or is this for all of Oahu? And again, the board members' questions brought up regarding the cost, the 120% increase. What if you can stop and think, and this how tied in together with the overdevelopment, just basically the overdevelopment and the sewer. And lastly, like how David Alcos just mentioned, or
Hi, my name is David Stead.
that right here, the construction is kind of still going on, and we're getting the wafting of the sewer into like the home. So just
But anyway, we sent out
to stop and really think, like, how much is too much? When will there be too much? Then to finally realize about the overdevelopment. So that the question about who's this increase for, and just to clarify, was it 120% increase? Mahalo.
Thank you.
We're asking her to kind of dig into a little bit
So,
more.
so sewer fees do support the entire island, so the entire system. We're very careful with how we spend money. And so we only do the absolute amount that we need in order to keep everything running properly.
Okay.
And protecting the environment. and
So for the
health.
entire island.
Entire island, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the.
And it is
Verizon.
120% increase.
Tara, please mute her. Verizon Tower Company cell tower at Eva Villages Golf Course.
Hi, this is Leela Vaga with Wireless Policy Group. My colleague Sunny Austin couldn't be here tonight, so I'm here in her place. I will put this presentation on the screen. It was emailed to Jeff as well, so if there are technical difficulties, hopefully you can still get to it. And if this seems familiar, it's because it is. This is the same presentation that you would have seen a few months ago when Sunny presented it. There was a glitch with our public noticing, and the required public noticing did not go out. So this is representing after the adequate public noticing as required by the city and county code. So in brief, what is being planned is a cell tower that will be built by TowerCo and Verizon. So TowerCo is a company that builds and owns cell towers, and Verizon is the anchor tenant, the primary carrier who is going to be going on the tower right away. The facility is planned for the Eva Villages golf course, and it'll be a 120-foot tall monopine tower. So it's in the AG1 zone, and I apologize, my notes are off to the left, so that's why I'm glancing that way. Yeah, it's going to require a CUP, a conditional use permit, and a height waiver. And this is really the beginning of the public process. We're going through the environmental reviews right now ahead of land use submittal. The project objective is truly to serve the community. It is to improve wireless coverage in the community in and around Eva Beach. And here's some more details about the specific neighborhoods to be served. Kroc Center and expanding new residents to the north, the neighborhoods to the west of Pahika Street, the neighborhoods north of Kapolei Parkway, and the Kroc Center and the residential neighborhoods east as well. So it truly is to improve coverage in those areas. So here are some photo simulations of the proposed facility. So here it is right there. This next one shows it in more detail. So as you see, it's a faux tree design. So we know that cell towers are not invisible, and no matter what you disguise it as, it's still going to look like a cell tower. But the idea with this is that your eye will not catch on it as you're going by, and it won't stand out and be quite as noticeable. There's another photo of what this will look like. And then we've included a site plan that just shows where we're intending to put the facility. And then here's a site sketch or an elevation drawing. I want to point out that this will be co-locatable by up to 3 wireless carriers, which means that should another wireless carrier come in and want to attach to the tower, there will be space already on the tower for that. And that reduces the overall number of cell towers that are needed, which is important. We don't want to put in too much infrastructure. So yeah, it'll be designed such that up to 2 more carriers can attach to the same facility. And then just a few details about wireless and the importance of wireless. And I'll just be brief about this, but you know, when you think about wireless coverage, I mean, how we use our devices is really critical. It is changing dramatically. The use of wireless data services is going up dramatically all the time. And first responders are relying on wireless connectivity in their vehicles. If you think about it, I mean, my phone is the remote control for my life. It is how my kids talk to their grandparents. It is how I connect with all my friends and family. It's our camera, it's our everything. And we're seeing that now expand into other devices as well. So for example, schools are using devices now on a regular basis, especially post-COVID for education. And folks doing remote learning are also relying on devices. Some statistics that I think are important to understand, 80% of 911 calls come from mobile devices. So it becomes a real safety issue if you don't have adequate coverage. And then it's just astounding to me what medical devices end up connected to wireless. The other day, my friend was telling me that her insulin monitor is wirelessly connected to and sends a report to her doctor automatically. So yeah, I'll just gloss through this. I know that there's an interest in time. Happy to go back and answer any questions. I just want to point out that there are several materials online, and we'd be happy to provide whatever additional detail folks would like. And with that, I'll just throw it back to you and ask if there are any questions or comments.
Thank you for that informative, concise presentation. Any questions from members of the board? Yes, sir. And then Mitch, and then John? No?
Yeah, so my question was just to see, why was the golf course selected and if there were any alternative locations considered and what were those factors that were involved?
Yeah, so there is always an extensive siting process when we plan a new wireless tower, and it takes into account several factors, including the zones of various properties, the sizes of those properties, how effectively we can site on those properties. This property is situated in an area that has a lot of residential uses around it, and it is particularly appropriate because it is city and county property in a large parcel with plenty of space without being too impactful on the nearby residences. So if you'd like more information, I can investigate the siting analysis. My recollection from our work on that, which at this point, these projects take a long time. So at this point, that was a couple years ago. But my recollection was that several candidates were considered, and this was the one that best met the coverage goal, minimizing the number of facilities that would be needed, while also minimizing impact on the community, mostly in terms of just visuals. It's the one that looks the best for the community while serving the area the best.
That's a good question, Zach. Next, Mitch.
I know you talked about great coverage, better coverage for everybody in the community and stuff like that, but I'll keep asking this, we got cell towers coming in and you get PV sites, solar farms coming in. What's the benefit to the community besides better coverage? Will there be a lower rate? Because, if you get better coverage, now you can up your price or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just saying, we'll make it more, I think, how would you word that? Like better for the community? You say, yeah, I wouldn't mind a monopole in my backyard if I'm going to lower my rate. I'm just saying, even for electric, solar farms, whatever, I'm going to keep asking the question because there has to be besides saying, hey, we get better coverage. Well, I know more Verizon. No, what?
The great question is a great question. And in our industry, the amount of data traffic that is on our network has been growing exponentially over time. I mean, the curve is just steep. And at the same time, rates have not been increasing by nearly that rate. So the cost for each amount, each like gigabyte of data that your cell phone is using has actually gone down dramatically over time, as we are using our devices more and they're more data intense. So it doesn't directly lower the bill, but it does. But over time, the wireless industry has been more expense constrained with every year. What I will say is that it does help with all of those capacity issues with the phone. So if you've ever had the experience where a cell phone bogs down in service at certain times of day, but at other times of day in the same place it works just great, that's because the capacity of the network gets stretched, and that really does hurt the service. Now, service improvements are the major advantage to the community, providing wireless coverage and connectivity and that critical communication service. And whether that's for medical devices, school, home, work from home, all of those things. Aside from that, first responder connectivity is really critical and access to 911 services. So having the ability for first responders to connect to the data in their vehicles and stay connected is really a major public benefit of good wireless coverage.
So to clarify, and this is the chair speaking again, to clarify, aside from increased bandwidth, no, shall I say, indirect, or for that matter, direct contributions to the public in the way of monetary or sponsored.
There is rent paid
contributions.
to the city for the city property, use of city property. So this will have a lease with City and County of Honolulu that will have a direct revenue to City and County of Honolulu.
Okay, is that publicly available data? Something that we can go
The lease
look
has
at?
not been negotiated yet, but the rates are published in terms of what City and County of Honolulu charges for wireless communications facilities on public lands.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from any other members of the board? No, seeing none? Okay, questions from members of the community? Yes, sir, if you could step up to the mic.
Board members, community members. My name is Jeff. I live in Tenney Village, probably, I don't know, a couple hundred yards away from where this thing's going to be built. And, I find it kind of funny that this wasn't brought up, and I guess the board had told them to let us know. And so we got the letter, and so now that's why I'm here today. So I appreciate that from the board. And, it talks, ma'am was talking about, minimal impact to the community. That's because they're trying to put it relatively in an area where there's not many people, because there are legitimate, and I have three lawsuits that are out, and it's a growing amount of lawsuits in regards to electromagnetic fields produced by these 5G towers. And one is actually published on PubMed. That's actual study that says, taken as a whole, this indicates ecosystem levels. Wildlife loss is often unseen and undocumented until tipping points are reached. Talks about, we have a gentleman that was in Idaho that has cardiac events. He was a contractor, got diagnosed with EMR, which is electromagnetic radiation sensitivity. And he moved to Idaho, and then Verizon put up a 5G tower within only a couple hundred yards of his place. And then he started having all the symptoms again from that. I have a family that was at a campsite by a Verizon 5G tower, and their kids all got sick. And they did a test at the area, and a normal microwatts is 100 in a normal range. And this area had 9,000 to 43,000 microwatts given off by these towers, given there was a couple of towers in that area. But yeah, so I think when ma'am says that there's minimal impact on the community, I think that's I think the underlying message is that there is impact on the community, and I think we need to take that seriously. Besides the fact of which, and this is probably more of a minor thing, us in Tenney Village, we are historical, and so therefore we aren't able to do certain things to our houses, upgrades, build upwards, put garages, and kind of modernize the place. But then we can put up these gigantic 5G towers in order to modernize our little area of the beach. So I find that kind of contradictive as well. So I appreciate you guys giving me the time, and I'll proceed the rest of my time.
Thank you. All excellent points. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, absolutely. So
Thank you.
I'm just going to go to the last slide in this deck and just I want to let you all know that radio frequency emissions, so the RF is radio frequency. These are radio waves. It is regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, and that is something that all the wireless carriers have to comply with. But in addition, there are several other agencies that have looked at the topic of wireless health effects, and here are a few just listed here: the FCC, the EPA, the FDA, the National Institutes of Occupational Safety Health, OSHA, the IEE, NCRP. This is an issue that has been widely studied. I would point out that the frequencies that are going to be on this tower are not millimeter wave frequencies. They are the same frequencies that were traditionally used for 3G and 4G. 5G, what that means is it's a 5th generation of network radio protocols. So that's basically the language which the technology talks to each other. That's what 5G stands for. For those who are interested in researching, I know there's a lot of information out there that isn't necessarily the most robust scientifically. I would encourage folks to look at these, more credible sources. And I want to be careful here because I do respect the concerns, but I do, and I don't mean to undermine those in any way, but I would direct folks who are concerned to specifically these regulatory agencies and others who have studied this, as well as the World Health Organization, which is not listed there, which has done some recent work on this topic.
Okay, thank you. Please stand by for a couple more questions. Tara, you have 1 minute. Thank you.
And public trust. Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, if you could turn down the background noise though.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn it off. Wait one sec, it's not coming off. Okay, well, I'm just gonna move it away. So I'm just like the neighborhood community member. I was gonna say for health effects. I know you're saying it's safe, but it's not safe. It's been proven. And I spoke at a previous presentation, the other one, regarding health effects. Now, this is being also fought on other islands by other people, by other families. And again, it's always going to be profit over people. So just my question to you is, how can we stop this? When will you accept a no? Or are you just going to push it through regardless? Because it is health and safety reason, and there are people fighting this. Mahalo. And I would like an answer. Mahalo.
Thank you, Tara. I think we'll forego an answer from her. She's presented her information. Okay, moving on to.
May I ask a question, Chair? I feel like I'm being targeted, not even able to speak or even getting a.
Senator Favela.
Thank you, Chair. You know the disappointing part with this Verizon tower, the height. We had put in concerns on the historicalness of what previous speaker had said. It's not about the connection because we get poor connection all the time. And every single cell company that comes over here, blowing their smoke, tooting their horn, saying how great it's going to be. It's not great for us. It's great for the pocket. So the bottom line, you can give all these statistics you like, the saying that it's safe. How we know? How can we trust you? How we can believe you when we ask you not to make the tower that high, not to put them in an historical area, and you guys still yet when go ahead and move forward and coming back again for the second time to do a community presentation that you're going to endanger our community, that you're going to have this in that area. Again, this is not going to help the core part of Ewa Beach. You was talking about Croc Center. That's the extension part of Ewa Beach. That's whole Peely and all that area. That's not Ewa Beach. That's outside of the new area of Ewa Beach. So I like to know the statistics that you have and how we can go find them ourselves so the public can know. Secondly, again, you said you're going to get 2 on top of there. How you guys got the height restriction in a historical area? Can you answer that? Because we know there's opposition to that height.
We'll allow you to respond.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to the process. So this will require a conditional use permit with a height variance, which is a public process through the city and county. So that it will go through the process of review and consideration for that. And that is public process where comments are welcome in that process to city and county. Now, in terms of why the height that is needed, The RF engineering team sets the height at what is needed to fill the gap in coverage capacity. And then that's something that we have to justify to City and County of Honolulu as a part of that conditional use permit and variance process. So,
Okay.
so we're going to have to demonstrate that this is the minimum height needed to meet that objective.
So I think what I hear you saying then is if we have issues with this, to talk with our city, our council members.
It's not actually a council process. It goes through the planning department. And there will be a process through the planning department conditional use permit. It's a land use approval.
So again, how is the public to be able to testify? Because I already wrote my letter the first time that we don't want your height variance, minor, whatever clearance that you want to ask for,
So Senator,
regardless.
I suggest we'll
Well,
get
we like her tell the public how to know if we go into the Department of Planning and Permitting, which we know the Department of Planning and Permitting don't do justice for our community chair.
Right.
So
I'm
that's
tracking.
what they need to give to the community so they know how to put in opposition to their project.
Right. So is that something that you can answer? If you're truly interested in either partnering with the community or
Yeah.
perhaps finding alternate sites, so how does the community weigh in on this?
I'm happy to answer. So when we get to the point where we have applied for our conditional use permit, which is not at this stage, we're still in the process of doing our environmental due diligence. I want to point out that this process is actually a requirement of the City and County of Honolulu specifically to gather community input. In that notice that you all received, there were email addresses in there for myself and my colleague Sunny Osink. And I can put my email in the chat that I'm happy to have you send those comments to me if you'd like, and we are happy to pass those on. But once the actual application goes in, there will be I believe it's a hearing examiner process, but I'll double check that and get back to you on that. But there is a process by which the planning department does seek feedback from the community as part of the conditional use permit process.
Okay, well then, based upon what I heard here today, you said this is part of the process, right, to gather community feedback. So
It is.
your interest here is not to just present information, but gather feedback from the community, correct?
Yeah, our interest is to make sure the community is aware of what's being planned, to gather feedback from the community, and to make sure that we're taking that into account.
Okay, so anecdotally, and this is in line with what we're doing, I'd like to take just a quick vote from the community. How many people in attendance today are in support of this? I haven't seen any hands. How many people in the physical meeting space are against this? Okay. We got about 5 or 6 people in the community space and one online that's against it. So if you could take that back as a community input.
Yep, I'll write that up in my notes. And then also, we will also make sure that the minutes from this meeting are something that will end up being a part of the record as it pertains to that as
Okay.
well.
Mayor, just one thing I've seen in the past is in the paper, when these towers go through the permitting process, it'll show up in the
Classified.
paper asking for, it'll give you all the information when the hearing is and how to testify.
Right.
So, but you have to
Read the paper.
You have to read the paper on that day.
Right. Right.
All right. So that's what I've seen in the past.
All right. Thank you, John. And I noticed, Trey, you had your hand up.
Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to clarify that my hand online was in favor. I think aesthetically, this is a relatively small price to pay to improve coverage in the long run in the area. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Project Nehemiah. Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for ceasing to share the screen. Appreciate it. Project Nehemiah, folks, are we? Project Nehemiah?
I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to speak. I was just here to observe because it's the first time I've been in this kind of community setting. I'm a resident of Ever Beach.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Rosemary Cuccia, and they know me as La'a at the, through my group, my organization. Project Nehemiah is a nonprofit organization formed to bring awareness to the community about human trafficking and what we can do for safety for our keiki. We're also working in conjunction with our Honolulu Police Department, the special division. We're also working with our politicians. We're working together with FEMA, and we have ways to present our information to them. If somebody, we have a hotline, we have everything that we're doing is trying to bring awareness. Our founder, Chris Everett, she's written 2 books, maybe more. I know of 2, but one is Don't Touch Me, which is a children's book that I know personally, I'm going to try to see if I could do some presentations in libraries, etc. And then the other one is Speak Up, Speak Out. That's our motto, is speak up, speak out. There's too many people who do not know what is going on here in Hawaii. And Hawaii is becoming a very big source for human trafficking. What we're also working on, we have community events, and what we're asking is we're trying to get signage that we have, which actually we've spoken with with the mayor and other officials to put these signs in schools and parks and places where children will be. We're trying to would like to get into the schools, and I know we had I'm really new to the organization, so I really shouldn't be speaking because I don't know all the
That's okay. Tell you what.
fine details, but
This
is
we'll
what
do.
we're trying to do is bring awareness.
This is what we'll do. So we usually allot 10 minutes for presentations. So you're about 2 minutes, 45 seconds in, but we do have your 6-minute video that we can play as well.
Please do. I
Yes.
don't know about it.
And
I'm
then
sorry.
So we'll play that now, and then we'll give you about a minute on the other side to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Does that sound good?
Thank you. As I said, I wasn't prepared.
That's okay. Give us about a couple seconds here to get it going.
Hawaii, the land of aloha. Beneath the stunning landscapes and serene ocean views lies a community facing profound challenges that often go unnoticed. This is a story not of just beauty, but of resilience, of faith, community strength, unity, and hope. It's time for us to speak up and speak out. Our communities thrive on trust. They always have. And the fundamental laws of respect, a sense of belonging with a higher purpose.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roll.
Aloha, the word of love and beauty. Yet we rarely see it today. Our people are growing smaller, and the issues are getting bigger.
And accept it that soon.
Things like human trafficking, child abandonment, domestic abuse, child abuse, youth grappling with drugs, youth grappling with guns, and the ever-pervasive challenge of homelessness that strickens our island and our native people, with over half of them making up the entire homeless population of their native land.
Domino's just donated 75 pizzas. I brought 2 boards and all of his clothes, and we're gonna go donate it to the houseless camp here. Always pay it forward. Good things happen to good people. What's up, Sheila? Okay, this is Kai right here.
First thoughts coming to Hawaii, right, is
it's the most beautiful place in the world, which it is. But then, the local people here definitely aren't living in paradise necessarily. Even being from Hawaii, it's always eye-opening, and we try to do whatever we can to give back and hopefully help these people come out of whatever situation they're in, even if it's just hope.
Have a nice day. Have a beautiful day.
Human trafficking remains a hidden crisis beneath our sands, troubling our neighborhoods, destroying our families, and destroying lives. Project Nehemiah, based in Hawaii, stands at the forefront of speaking up and speaking out against any and all exploitation of our people.
Might be later to it, and the times they are changing.
With prevention at our core, we are tirelessly working to shed light on these corners and reveal the monsters in the dark.
All you senators and congressmen, please heed the call.
Things like human trafficking, the public really don't know it exists. Sex trafficking, human trafficking with adults, it is absolutely happening right now. It isn't just, kids from the mainland being brought over here to do it. It's local kids, sometimes by the family, sometimes by a pimp they meet. And runaway teenage girls are the most vulnerable group because they're going to need help. They don't have support because sometimes kids running away from home are running away because of what's going on in the home.
Part of the reason why people get trafficked is because they're part of vulnerable populations. That's how they get preyed upon. That's how they get trafficked, is because somebody identifies them as somebody that needs something or doesn't have support or doesn't have love. And then they basically capitalize on that need and then take advantage of them.
My heart hurts for the fact that some of these folks never had a mom, a dad, a guardian, to someone to look out for them and tell them this is not right and I would never do this to you, or for someone who took advantage of that relationship with power and authority. If we don't make a sense now, we're just going to continue these cycles of hurt.
If there are children that are running or they are missing, they are either running from something or running to something. So you really have to be aware of that. If you have a child or a niece or a nephew that's frequently running, you got to start understanding, what are you going and getting, or what are you running from? Because these behaviors shouldn't be just brushed off as they just kolohe, they just naughty. No, there is other things going on. I mean, even in some of the encampments that I do outreach in, I find young children there with people that are not their age, and I'm like, who is this person to you? So I think there are signs.
There's no such thing as a 13-year-old prostitute. There's a 13-year-old rape victim, and that's what they're suffering from. A couple of years ago, we prosecuted a pimp named Marquise Green, and his two victims were now in their 20s. They looked him in the eye, they identified him, the jury convicted him, and the judge gave him 40 years in prison. If you're a pimp, we will send you to prison.
Together, we can transform vulnerability into strength.
So I partner with Project Nehemiah because they help me with homeless outreach. Their interest in protecting families and women and children is the same interest I have.
At Project Nehemiah, Chris's passion really aligns with mine and what we try to do at the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office.
Let's bring our churches together and find a solution. The only way forward is through unity. The only way forward is through aloha. Together we can make a difference. Speak up and speak out.
Very powerful message. Very powerful. So about 45 seconds, you want to wrap up with some final thoughts?
There are bills out right now that we're trying to get where there be less prosecution for underage people who have been prostituting, that won't be as prosecuted as much, and then higher penalties for those who are. The symbol for help that you should teach your children and keiki and grandchildren, 5 fingers, close your thumb, close your hand. Every child should know this so that if they need help, they can signal without having to have any verbal contact anybody. Police, they know this symbol. Please check out the website, projectnehemiahhi.com. Check out the website and see what we are doing and trying to do. And attend on March 8th, we have an event in Miley Beach for the all the first responders. There'll be music, food, and entertainment. And we're to bring awareness, because especially a lot is going on the west side that we've found so far with human trafficking.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Questions from members of the board? Alex?
Thanks for that presentation. Obviously, super powerful stuff. And I know there's some signage that's been up near my home, and I don't know if it's through your organization, but it's about stop human trafficking as well. So I don't know if that is related to you. I had a question, and this is not to sound insensitive. It's more, I think for a lot of people, it can be difficult they don't know people that this has happened to directly. And so I'm wondering, like, are there any kind of statistics on like how prevalent this is, how common it is? You know, because I see the video, I feel it, it hurts me, and I'm just curious, like, how common is this? Because, like I said, my neighbors and maybe don't know about it, right? So that would be, I think, really helpful for people to understand and give context to it. So.
I don't know the statistics, but I know the statistics are out there. And of course, our main Chris Everett has more information that you can contact her directly. This is inter-island. This is nationwide. We have members also in Las Vegas working together with us. But it's inter-island. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that people don't know, because there's a lot, like Big Island, there's a lot of places where people can hide.
Right.
In Waianae, there was a trailer, and the kids, we were instrumental in saving the children that were in a trailer. There's also abuse in the homes that we're working with. There are relatives and people, teachers, pastors. I hate to say it, but I don't know of any specifically, thank God. But there are people who are also doing this. And then what do the children do? They don't even know. They're afraid to speak up. That's why our motto is speak up, speak out. We have to make people know this is happening in Hawaii for sure, but everywhere. It's nationwide. But here it's becoming an epidemic. So we have to get this now. We have to get the awareness out to the community with the signage that we have, with going into the schools, with having programs that we can, we
Thank
even
you.
have the DOE have.
Any questions or comments from members of the community? Senator?
Yeah, so they came out to the Capitol. The signs that they have is really durable, and we should have them around. I know we have the ones from the other group that's around in the community, but what I want to say is that when I talk to HPD, this is a pressing moment that Neighbor Island right now, Pikachu, we call him Pikachu, he's gonna having a Saturday rally up in Hilo for this, what she's just talking about, sex trafficking awareness. But what people don't understand is in Hawaii, the reason why it's so hard to get prosecution is because we put the victims in jail. I was trying to have a bill that would mirrors Alaska, that the victims don't get arrested. How it happens is that the victim go to HPD or to any law enforcement agency, and the question was going to be asked right after that, did you receive money? As soon as the victims say, yeah, they're a prostitute. So they don't get refuge, and we got to change that law. And I had a bill like that, but wasn't heard again. But we got to change that mentality, because that's the reason why we don't have anybody speaking up and coming forward.
Thank you,
Thank
Senator.
you.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Greenland, you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair. Shane Greenland. I was just going to come as a community member, but I will speak as being a principal at a school. And to speak to your question, Mr. Gauss, it is in our schools. So we have had students involved, and it's not only just my school. We do know that it's other schools. The DOE over the next 3 years is going to introduce sexual violence prevention programs. We are actually piloting it this year. We've partnered up with Weed and Seed as well as the Attorney General's office to offer assemblies to our kids to try to inform them. And it will be coming K through 12 over the next 2 years to be into all schools. But it is affecting our kids and it's very impactful with what's happening. So don't think it's not happening in our backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Greenland. Anyone else in the physical meeting space? Seeing none. Tara, you have 1 minute.
Okay, aloha, can you hear me? Aloha.
Yes.
Okay. And again, I know it's a 1 minute, Kenny. I would really appreciate you not starting just with me that I have a minute. So I just want to say mahalo nui for what you're doing. I'm also just looking at first when I heard this on Pikachu's page, and then he's right now going to Hilo to investigate, human trafficking and smuggling. So mahalo nui for all you're doing. And my last 30-second 2 cents is that this is all tied into everything that's happening in Hawaii, even with everything, whether it's housing, whether it's a sewer increase, whether it's people being pushed off the island. It's because of the situation really right now as we're living it. And so mahalo nui just for all you're doing and for bringing it to light. Mahalo.
Thank you, Tara. Any other comments? Seeing none. I just have a quick follow-up comment. Thank you for all that you do. But for members of the community, we all have our, I don't want to call them pet projects, but things that are important to us, either from something that happened in our childhood or someone that inspired us somewhere along the way. For me, it's education. I have an MBA, I have a bachelor's of business, but also have a GED. I dropped out of high school, so education is pretty important to me. So this is a very tough subject, but it's one that when you do get involved and help out, and it can be simple as sign waving, it can be simple as, sharing the message of what that sign is to other people, it can wind up being very rewarding. Just right quickly, as a final note, do you have a website that you can again repeat?
I'm sorry?
A website, URL?
Yes, well, projectnehemiahhi.com.
Okay.
And
Project
then there's another one, but I can't remember it enough to tell you, but I'm sure if you go there, you'll find and Instagram, we're on Facebook, the usual social media websites. Could I just add one thing about the
Yes, ma'am.
education? I know that from what I've been told, again, I'm not the authority on it, but I know it did happen, that we were turned away from going into the schools. We had a petition going around to try to get ourselves the signage and thing. So whatever is going on is from this point on now, because everybody, with the president coming out with the trafficking and our own local other organizations, but up to now, we have not been able to really do the real core of what we need to do to get that awareness out. And hopefully that'll happen really soon because we need it right now, not 2 years from now.
Yes, ma'am. We have one more comment online and then we'll move on after this last comment. Grace, you are good to go. Grace? Oh, you lowered your hand? Oh, okay. Can you unmute yourself, Grace? Okay, Grace, apparently we're having some technical difficulties, but if you happen to come back later, we can bring you back on later in the residents and community concerns. Thank you, ma'am. Aloha. Appreciate it. Moving on to next item, residents and community concerns. Limited to one turn, 2 minutes per person. Concerns or comments in public safety and government officials should be addressed in the next section where we have those personnel present. In the interest of time, please be brief with your concerns or comments. When you approach the podium, if you could, state your name and then whatever it is you want to say. The floor is open. No one in the physical meeting space wants to speak at the podium for residents and community concerns? Wow. Okay. Mr. Gauss, are you going to the podium? Oh, no? You're going to the restroom? Okay.
Chair, if I can, Mr. Rogers, go ahead.
So
So hi, work with HPL. I'm a volunteer, Hawaii Bicycling League. And right now they're working on a lot of advocacy bill or a lot of bills with electric bikes. And so if anyone's interested in advocacy or wants to understand what's going on with electric bikes and all the bills that are in the legislature right now, they have an advocacy committee, I can't even speak. And you can go to hbl.org and find out more about that if you're interested in working with that. HBL, Hawaii Bicycle League, also on February 22nd at the bike shop in IAEA, we're holding a Fix a Flat workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop. It's free. Basically what we do is we go in 2 hours, we teach you basic maintenance of a bicycle and we fix a flat. And I'm going to be the guy doing the class, the workshop. So it's free. IAEA Bike Shop, the bike shop in IAEA at 1 p.m. to 2:30. It's a Saturday. Again on February 22nd. That's all I got, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers, and this is your neighborhood. Next up, we have Miss Karen Polk. I believe she's with the Kapolei Chamber. I'm not sure if that's what you want to talk about, but Karen, you're up.
Hi, Karen Polk. I am the CEO of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. However, this evening I'm actually speaking on behalf of Hunt Companies. Tony will be speaking later, but tonight I'm sharing as a community liaison about a makeke that in Kaleloa that started a few months ago. We just started back up after the new year. And so if I can share screen really quick, I'll put the flyer up and I can put a URL up. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see clearly.
So it's held the second Tuesday of every month in Kaleloa town. It's actually at Kaleloa Professional Center from 4 to 6:30 p.m. And there is produce there. And they actually take SNAP benefits and WIC and for those who have that. But it's a great way. There's great place to go and grab your fresh produce and enjoy some live music and have some really good food. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. It's great to support our local businesses too in the community, but come on over to Kaleloa town in Kaleloa Professional Center next month on the 11th of March.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate that heads up.
Sure.
Moving on. Thank you. Tara, you have 2 minutes. Go.
Okay, aloha. My concern is basically just as the human trafficking has been brought up, and I was mentioning again, it's all tied in together with this process. I know we're here just to hear monthly updates of everything, but to just continue business as usual is really detrimental at this point if you don't realize how it's all connected. So I was the only testifier in person with 3 written testimonies who were for support. I was in opposition to the HCDA 99-year leasehold administrative rules program. And by clicking and really reading the testimonies, I actually found one of the board members, is in one of the nonprofits. And I'm just going to bring this to the community, because when you say affordable housing and it says like low cost, it came out from an Act 97, 2023 legislature, that it was not defined for a purpose. It's not the same as low income. And they are defining that it's only going to be a few houses or units set aside, the rest 99-year lease, and it's going to be 400 to 600,000. That is not. Now add on to that the homeowner increase, add on to that the sewer fee increase, electricity increase, and then you have the issues. As you see, you heard, I'm still in the Ko'olaulau neighborhood board right now. They're talking about everything. While they were talking about DPP, we were talking about listening to the Verizon cell tower talking about DPP. While they were talking about the building, we're listening to Babcock regarding the sewer. It's all tied in together. And just as a person, it's hard to effectuate change by yourself, yet there is the power of one. So I really hope by my coming and bringing this up to you all that you realize until it's like not like 5 years later that, oh, that's what she was talking about. It's this whole process that really doesn't work. It's a sole testifier. It was a public hearing. March 5th is the decision
Thank you,
making.
Tara. Thank
They
you,
cut me off like you at 3 minutes. And are they really listening?
Tara.
They're just gonna push forward
Thank you.
for housing. Mahalo.
Any other comments from anyone virtually and or in the meeting room? Jeffrey says there's no one online. So with that said, I, as a chairperson, do have something to present. I spent some time this past week down at the State Capitol building when I found out that our one of our elected officials actually put in a bill to have the library transferred over to Department of Education. I am not a fan of that, and there's a couple of different reasons why. So I'll just read this brief statement. I am in strong opposition to Senate Bill 187. A little bit about myself. I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Board, was elected in February 2015, so this is my 10th year this week on the board. I'm the author of several books. I won't go into details of what they're about, but I founded a nonprofit called Team Building USA, which was created specifically to teach teenagers personal accountability and lifelong learning skills. During the COVID pandemic, I personally sponsored an essay writing contest and gave away several laptops to students in Ever Beach. In fact, our board member Corey Lee, his daughter, won one of the laptops. I've served on school community councils. I've personally volunteered thousands of hours, that's not overstating it, to the edification of today's students, our future leaders. Accordingly, I believe I know what I'm talking about when I say it would be a tragedy to turn over such a valuable resource as this library to the DOE. And I'm a huge fan of the DOE. I'm not going to harp on the fact that our elected official did not bring this particular Senate bill to this Ever Neighborhood Board, which is what we all expect them to do. For something that affects this community as much as this library, I would like for our elected officials, when they're going to make such a big change, to bring that information to this neighborhood board. My two daughters attended Ever Beach Elementary School, Ever Mackay Middle School, and they both graduated as valedictorians of their respective classes. My youngest daughter graduated in 2024 last year, #1 in the class of like 695. They loved this library. You know why? It's quite simple. Reading takes you places. If the future leaders of Ever Beach have any hope of going places, continue going places, they need the Ever Beach Library to remain accessible to the community, not just the school, to the community. Representative Julie Reyes Otis has already submitted CIP requests to bring our library up to the 21st century standards. I believe it's $1.5 million she put in the request for. So keeping the library as the Ever Beach Library will actually expand access for today's students. Turning it over to the DOE would do nothing but undermine the one and only community space that we have. This is our one and only community space in Ever Beach. If we don't have this library, we got to go over Copper Lane. Again, please keep in mind, I've been the education chair for 10 years, thousands of hours volunteered. I know this community. I love this community. I'm not saying that the elected officials don't, but if you have time, if this comes up again, I'm not sure if it'll come up again, if we could take time out to provide testimony at the state capitol, it would be a good thing. Thank you. Moving on to other monthly reports. Hunt Communities. Tony, you're online. Tony, Mr. Gaston?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, hold on. Let me share my screen with you here. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can see Hunt Companies Hawaii on the screen.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys. Well, first off, good evening, everybody, members of the board and members of the community. I'm Tony Gaston with the Hunt Companies. Last month, there was a request to talk about what Hunt does overall. So what I'd like to do is provide a quick synopsis. I'll get through this as fast as I can. Now, with more than 30 years of service in Hawaii, Hunt is a company that has long been recognized for its innovative use of underutilized government properties, as well has committing to creating premier master plan communities. In Hawaii, Hunt has primarily services development, affordable housing, construction, and social infrastructure. We're the #2 multifamily owner in the state. Hunt has a subsidiary company called CGL Management Group, and they specialize in social infrastructure. Nationwide, they've completed 22 justice facility planning projects. And in Hawaii, CGL just recently completed planning and design for the expansion of a women's community correctional center in Kailua that was just opened last September. Hunt has also been involved with 1100 LIHTC or low-income housing tax credit units. If you drive by the stadium, there's a new LIHTC building going up. It's called the Halava View Apartment number 2. Hunt is partnering with this company called Pacific Development Group on a project. This brings in another 300 new affordable units and is slated to be completed early next year. Hunt manages overall about 8,000 homes for military families. We're linked to construction of over 11,000 units, and we manage over 500,000 square feet of commercial space. A couple notable projects that I just want to share. First is the UH Rise project. Last year, in another public-private partnership, this one was with the UH, Hunt completed a $75 million 6-story project where the Atherton YMCA is. This building provides new housing for students. It integrates academic and collaborative spaces. Now, when the students first moved in, because this is a brand new dorm, they were so happy, especially since now they all get free Wi-Fi too. Yeah? The second is on the island of Kauai, the one on the right side. The Ahui Manu is a 42,000 square foot mixed-use shopping center that services both locals and residents and visitors, It's located on the north shore of Kauai in Kilauea town. You know what? It's like a social center where friends and families all gather together. Now, as you know, Hunt plays a big role in Kalailoa, the old Barbers Point. After the base closure, properties were, as you can see on this map, distributed to various owners. The Navy, they still kept a fair share amount for its MWR services. The legend on the right shows all the various owners. There's still a lot of federal property. You can see the Navy, Coast Guard, Hawaii Army National Guard. DHHL has a lot too. You see all the green pieces over there. That big gray part in the center is the airport. So DOT has a lot of land. City and county, as you all know, they just recently acquired a lot of property from the Navy, right? Now, Hunt's pieces are highlighted in red, and there are a lot of other landowners, as you can see. But what I want to do now is just kind of focus a little bit on Hunt's pieces, and I created this black and white image and shaded in Hunt's parcels. So you can see how Hunt is linked to about 518 acres, or 13% of the overall 3,800 acres. Yes, okay. It's mostly in the core downtown area, but even in the downtown area, Hunt doesn't own all the downtown area. But now, although we're only linked to 13%, hey, we still want to make the best use of what we're linked with. So in this picture here, this is an image of the old Navy bachelor officers' quarters. Now, when the base closed, this thing fell into a neglected state after being vacant for more than a decade. And you can see how bad it is in all these images. Well, in these images here, this shows how Hunt transformed the bachelor's officers' quarters into Wakea Gardens. You guys all know what that is now, and it offers a great affordable living option in Kalailoa. Overall, Hunt has contributed a lot towards revitalizing Kalailoa by repurposing abandoned buildings and land and affordable housing and industrial and commercial spaces. And as you guys can see, the VA clinic, the one I come and talk about sometimes. Now, this all has helped open up hundreds of jobs and help stimulate the regional local economy. Now, Hunt also created a website. This website is called Kalailoa Town. Come on up. Oh, there it is, yeah. And www.kalailoatown.com. It's a sample of what it looks like. It has links to show tenants in the area, also provides updates to construction projects, community resources, and community events. Okay, that's it. Anybody have any questions? I tried to get through it as fast as I could.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Mr. Gauss.
Hey, thanks for that, Tony. Appreciate it. I was curious. So on the map that you showed with the Hunt properties, I've been hearing for a long time that the properties in the northeastern section were like slated to be, I think it was Servco I've heard different things, and I think that's where the baseball fields are, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just curious if you know if there's a plan for those lots or sections as of yet.
Okay, so in those areas, Hunt isn't the full owner just yet. We will be soon. The Navy still owns the property, but we have lease priorities. And you're correct, Servco is over there right now in parcel 17, which is the area, you know, here's a stoplight. Can you see a stoplight right here? Well, you can't see it, but this is the stoplight as you come out of the Kualaka'i Parkway area. I mean, well, not Kualaka'i, but the shopping center, Kamakana-Li'i. You come across, and then in this area, Servco now has their maintenance facility set up over there. The parks, the baseball fields were in this area right over here. This area is proposed for future industrial type development.
Okay, thank you. I believe we had someone else. Mr. Plowman.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Gaston. It's very informative. I asked that you cover this stuff because I think it's important for the community just to see how big a role Hunt plays in the islands, and I think it's also important to include that this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, a Texas-based company. Hunt Companies, which is a huge company, and but it's not necessarily a Hawaii company. And Hunt Hawaii, if I'm not, pardon me if I don't get the name exactly right. It's just a small part of this very large company that has an awful lot of military contracts too, if I'm not mistaken. But we these updates about a VA center for a while, and I just thought it would be a good idea for the community to understand just how prominent a role this company plays in construction in Hawaii and nationwide. Thank you for your time on that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Tara, you have 1 minute.
Aloha, and I'm going to say this. I read the minutes. Can you just say Tara next testifier? Mahalo. So Tara Rojas, I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to back that up with, there is documentation of the history of HEVA, of injustice, of destroying cultural sites by Hunt, by Haseko, by all of these developers, and you can see the results. You can take a look at Kaka'ako, that's what's slated for Kalailoa. It's on pause right now, the Kalailoa master plan. You do not need to develop every inch of undeveloped land. And with that, I'm going to say military lands is not military lands. There is true allodial title in perpetuity, which means forever. So just to recognize that, and as I'm listening to this again, we're hearing it right now. They're trying to stop this in Turtle Bay at this moment. So mahalo.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. Any other comments from members of the community online or in the physical meeting space?
I have a
Seeing-
comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ross.
Yes, my comment is to Hunt and to the VA. I'm a user of the VA facility out there in Kailailoa, and all I can say is that I was absolutely blown away in terms of how functional and beautiful that facility is. It makes a veteran feel really proud to be able to go there and feel that his needs are going to be taken care of, his or her needs are going to be taken care of. And the people in that particular facility are really responsive to our call. So I think by building a beautiful building, you inspired the workers inside to act wonderful also. Thank you.
Well, that's a great comment, sir. Thank you so much. I'm going to let the VA team know. They're going to take that in. They'll love it. Thanks again.
And I second that emotion, like Smokey Robinson would say. Anyone else? Senator? You have 1 minute, Senator.
Yeah. So we appreciate what Hunt had done for our communities, but my question is, maybe you can answer them. Maybe you can give it to the board or next month's meeting. How did Hunt acquire all the land from the military? When the military closed the base, the next person that was in line or next organization was in line was Hawaiian Homes. But they had cut out a lot of parts of the area in Barbers Point, Kalailoa, Iroquois Point, Capilino, to give it to Hunt. So maybe you don't have the answer now, but maybe next month, provide the community on how you guys gonna acquire all this land. Because the next person in line, when the military closes the bases and turn over the land, was supposed to go to Hawaiian Homes for Bill Homes. So if you can have that question next month, you don't need to answer them right now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Got that, Tony?
Yes, I'll bring an answer next month.
Okay. And we'll have one final question for you, Tony, from Eileen G, who's also online. Eileen? Bueller? Are you muted? We cannot hear you in the meeting space. Okay, more technical difficulties. We can come back later, or you can put your question or comment in the chat. Moving on to Gentry Homes. We have someone here from Gentry Homes.
Yes. Hi, Chair. I'm here from Gentry Homes.
Oh, excellent.
Can you all hear me? Yes. Hi.
Please proceed.
Awesome. Thank you. So Sunny Rosario from Gentry Homes. Very excited. Our main update for this month is that our yearly scholarships are now live. So we've reviewed and updated our scholarship process and application itself this year. So now we have, I'm just going to share my screen real fast. We have, we've added 2 new scholarships in our continuing scholars category, which just means anybody continuing their education after high school and who lives in a Gentry home. So this may be college degree, community college, technical institute, apprenticeship, etc. And it is now available online on our website. There should be a scholarship tab. We're looking at it right now. Super excited, and we're still continuing our Campbell High School and our Kapolei High School scholarships. You can download the applications down here. There's a little link. It's a PDF. You can download it. We've also sent out the scholarships to the high school, your counselors, and it'll be available via paper. You can mail it to us too if that's more comfortable for you as well. We've sent them this flyer as well, so you can scan it. Sorry, for those of you in the room, if you have children or if you know of anybody, nieces, nephews, friends, whoever, you can scan the QR code too. I'll try and make that a little bit bigger. Oh, okay, that's okay. You can scan it. It'll take you to the website as well. We're just super excited. In our application, we've tried to make it more person focused. I know how intimidating it can be to apply to scholarships. I applied for so many. So we tried to make the barrier for entry lower. There's no GPA, no transcript. We have a personal essay section where we try to learn more about who you as a student are versus just trying to get the GPA, transcript, etc. So we really want to know who the student is this year. So we really, really encourage you all, if you know of anybody, please apply. We're trying to get more and more people to apply and a diverse array of students. We're super excited. I'll put the more information in the chat, and I'll try to upload also to the applications and the flyers. You can submit it to community@gentryhawaii.com if you need more info. You can email that, or you can call my number at 808-476-3497. Again, I'll put this all in the chat too, and the application is open now and closes on March 10th. Super excited, so please apply. We're very excited and hope to receive lots of applications. So yeah, thank you, Chair. And lastly too, I know that it was of interest because of the VA coming up. We're right next door with Ku'ulu to the VA. If it is of interest for people to learn more about anything Gentry's doing, we're closing out our EVA project, closing out our homes in EVA. We've been doing that for 30 years, a little bit longer than I've been on this earth. If it is of interest for you all to learn more about what we do at Gentry, happy to do that too. It may be better timing if we do it kind of after we finish our homes, like our last homes. So happy to do that too for you all.
Thank you for that excellent report. Please stand by for a question. I believe John Rogers, you had a question?
Yes, please. Thanks for that information. I have two items. The first item is the tennis complex that's in Eva Gentry. I just like to understand the status of that tennis complex that was going to go in. And the second item is along the new housing that you folks just built near Sing Park or Renton Road that parallels Renton Road. There's the Leeward Bikeway now runs by there. And then there's a section of land that kind of crosses the railroad tracks that is not being maintained by anyone. And then of course there's your wonderful landscaping that you folks just put in. And I gotta say Eva by Gentry does a great job with landscaping and maintaining it, and we really appreciate that. You really make the community a better place. But my ask is, if you could take this back, is there's this little piece of land that's maybe 20 feet wide, 30 feet wide, that goes from Fort Weaver Road all the way like to the Kane Hall Road or where Renton Road connects to the Kane Hall Road. If there was be a way that you folks could maintain that area just as a community service, it would just make that whole place look so much better. And it's along the Leeward Bikeway. It's a 10-mile bike lane, bikeway, pedestrian way that goes from Halaba to Kapolei. So that's just my two thoughts: is the complex, the tennis complex, and the little land by the Leeward Bikeway. Thanks.
Sure, no problem. And I just want to make sure I get your question correct. So I don't know if you can see my screen, because I also don't want to confuse it with a potential other project, which so I just want to make sure I'm getting the right area. So I apologize. I just quickly jotted down Renton Road, but I think I'm totally off here.
Yeah, Fort Weaver and Renton Road. That's if you go to that intersection and then you go to the new area where the new houses are that run along that the North Park development. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I know our North Park. Here we go.
Any other
North
questions
Park.
from members of the board?
Sure, and I can try, I'm sorry, Chair, I can try to answer on the fly the tennis complex question. That we've deeded over to I want to get this correct, the US DOE, and I can bring you back a more detailed answer. So now that is actually in the schools or the USTA's hands for them to now process, or for them to now go forward with their with what they want to do. But to give you a more accurate answer, can I bring you back a more detailed step by step, because that process with the Hawaii DOE and then the US DOE has kind of been a little bit arduous.
Yeah,
so I'll
thank you.
bring
Bring it back to us.
Answer next time.
We look forward to hearing from you next month. Thank you.
For sure. And then can you just tell me which road exactly you're talking about? Right here.
That it's at the top of the screen right there. It's between that housing development that you're currently looking at and that road to the north. There's a franja, that section right there, right in the smack middle of your screen, that is not maintained, right by the
Is my mouse on it?
We can contact you afterwards or something.
Sure.
There's
my
a
mouse
bike
on it?
path and there's railroad tracks, and it's the area between your land and the railroad and the bike path that isn't being maintained. It's like 20, 30 feet wide. And it's just, I'm just asking if you guys, if that's something you could take on. It would be
Sure, no
greatly
problem. I'll
appreciated.
drop my email in the chat, or to the drop my email to you guys. Please let us know,
you.
because
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Haseko Homes update. We have a representative from Haseko Homes available. Okay, seeing none. Moving on to DR Horton, Ho'opili update. Any representative from Ho'opili? Okay, that does it for those representatives. Moving on to government officials. Limited to 3 minutes per report. Follow-up questions and answers and comments limited to one turn, 1 minute per person, beginning with Marine Corps Base Hawaii Duty Officer.
Good evening, everyone. Chair, board, community members. Thanks for having me. I'm Lieutenant O'Hara. I'll be representing Marine Corps Base Hawaii today. So up first, The Kaneohe Bay Air Show is going to be in August this year. We'll have the Blue Angels and the F-22 demo team performing, along with a bunch of other performers. As the information becomes available, we'll release that. So we look forward to seeing people there. It'll be a good time. You might have seen the flyers that handed out. If anyone needs one on the board, you can have one now. Otherwise, they'll be in the back. So we did a RQ study, and that is a range compatible use zone study that looks into a variety of details like SDZs and noise. The study is on our website. There's a QR code in the pamphlet that covers the details within that study. So because that is something that just got released, I would recommend going through that and then either emailing myself or Major Fox questions, or having some questions ready for next month's meeting. And then we'll tackle those questions and bring those answers up either next month or the month after. So take a moment, look over that. The information, I think, is pretty comprehensive. So any questions that you have, we'll relay to the subject matter experts and get the best answer that we can to you promptly. So pending any other questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions from members of the board? Mr. Gauss?
Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant. I'm curious, I would like to request that you guys actually give a presentation on the study that provides information on the methods and how it was done and the results and things of that nature. If I can request that, that'd be fantastic. I think that'd be the most informative way, because it's just scanning it right now, it's a real heavy document, and that would be the most efficient way to communicate to the community that lives next to the range about what the study was and what was actually found. If you could do me that favor.
Yes, and we did have so we had part of the team here earlier, but they had a flight to catch. So they could have answered some of the questions a little more in depth. Unfortunately, they had to leave. But there will be more opportunities to have them to give a presentation. So yeah.
And then just one quick follow-up is, so I did, just scanning it really quickly, notice a future, talking about future mitigation measures, the potential building of a western wall to help with the sound mitigation. And I've been on the board for 7 years now. And the first year that I was here, they were talking about that. And so as part of the, my initial question right now would be, can we seriously look at making that happen so that we can actually get sound mitigation? I live right next to the range, as do all my neighbors, obviously. And so that's something that really affects us. So I'll have more questions, but I just wanted you to take that one.
No, that's a great comment. And it's studies like this that help the decision-making process and ultimately drive action. So.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any other questions from members of the board in the physical meeting space? Seeing none. Any questions from members of the board online? Seeing none. Okay, Tara?
Okay, aloha. I have two comments. Well, one comment, one question. My first comment is, how long is it going to take for the wall you just heard, 7 years that's never been built, and the results? Like, again, you said the QR code, like how long? Like, is it going to be this year, or is it going to be like year 3, year 4, year 5? Like, when is the results of the testing you took going to be given, and what are the action steps? When is it going to happen? 1, that's my comment. 2, is it you guys that are flying like so low pretty much daily? Well, the jets in the daytime, and between like 12 and 3 a.m. in the morning, we hear like planes like flying super low, loud enough to just like wake you up out of a sleep. So is that you guys, or is that the Army?
So for the first question, there's really no way to directly answer a timeline. Like I said, this test itself, the study results are on the website, but we don't have a timeline. For the second portion, I can't speak to the operations of other service branches operating their aircraft in certain airspaces. So that would be a question I can ask as far as how our air station operates on this side of the island. I can try and get back to you, but I cannot speak to the other branches.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I didn't think you guys flew out of this side. I thought you did most of your air operations out of K-Bay.
Most of our operations are out of McCass, yes.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the community? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Semper Fi. United States Navy.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, members of the community, members of the board, friends and neighbors. My name is Dave Hodge, Duna Hodge, with the Navy Closure Task Force, Red Hill, and here with a couple of updates from the task force. First, tank cleaning update. 7 and 8 are now being pressure washed. If you remember last month, we had started pressure washing 7 and 8. That's a process that takes about 2 months to get through those 2 tanks. And then right behind them, 5 and 6 are already been degassed, and the structural integrity, the scaffolding and the ladders inside those tanks are being tested right now, so they can start their pressure washing next. Tanks 3 and 4 are soon to be degassed, which is the ventilation, and we go with the air quality monitoring and all the DOH EPA monitoring of that air quality once we do start the degas. Other than that, routine business, thankfully. Everything's going really, really quickly, much more quick than we actually expected. There's a podcast we just released today. We just released another one the other day. Each one of these podcasts, I need to take a breath, I'm sorry. Each one of these podcasts give in-depth information on the cleaning processes that we're using there at the tanks. So they're online, they're available, they're very quick learns. I learn a lot every day that we record these things. And I encourage you guys to go online on the app and also on the website, and you can read this information and see this information. And it also helps you ask questions when you come to our open houses. Next open house is going to be in 12 March. We look forward to seeing everybody. It's over at K Lagoon. We're going to be in the Los Banos room this time. There's a tank cleaning webinar online on the 24th of January. We just put this together a few days ago, and there's a flyer over here with all the information. The tank cleaning webinar actually shows how the pressure washing is done, the preparations for the pressure washing itself, and how we take care of all the materials that we're pulling out of those tanks. Navy region news. We just had the canoe. The Hokulea just visited Pearl Harbor last month. I think we mentioned it last month, but the Navy region is starting up ship tours again. So members of the public, community groups, school groups, education groups, if you know of anybody that would like to tour a ship, call us. I've got some friends on the Navy region side of MidPac. We can put those school kids in ships and actually see the STEM technology that goes on in the armed forces right now. With that, we also do harbor tours. So we're starting up monthly harbor tours, which are harbor tours, historical tours, narrated tours around Ford Island with a stop on Arizona Memorial and the National Park there. So if anybody knows a school group, scouting groups, we're standing by for leading that. Other than that, questions?
Thank you, Duna.
Thanks.
Questions for members of the board? Corey?
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Is there research about the long-term impact of the tanks when they are empty? And is there funding to maintain the tanks while they're empty?
Are we talking environmental remediation? So the long-term environmental remediation will be an ongoing process. In fact, some of the members of the community that visited us last time at the open house brought this up and asked this question. And they were startled to find out that we had already planned on 2031, and even beyond, to make sure that we're taking care of those sites environmentally and to make sure that we take care of whatever EPA or DOH has us do with those sites. So there's an ongoing continuous plan for those places. Yes, sir.
Yes, Susan.
Yes. Is the EPA in contact with you, or is the gag order in force?
No, ma'am. The gag order was lifted, not really a gag order, but a freeze. So a freeze is the term that we were told anyway. I spoke with Karen Davis this morning on a phone call and a sync call. So EPA has been lifted. They're hoping to attend the next open house. But yes, we're in daily communication with those folks.
Okay, I didn't know it was lifted because they have not been in contact with the Community Representation Initiative.
There
So you're
was a
saying
freeze for them.
it
Yes,
was-
ma'am.
But you're saying the freeze is lifted for everybody? They can talk to the community now?
We can talk between agencies. I can't speak for them for the public, but I think it's been lifted. I think that's what she alluded to this morning on the phone.
Thank you. I hope that's.
I can ask, I will ask, and I'll ask her to reach out for you.
Thank you, Duna.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in our meeting tonight, we have about 45 minutes before we contractually have to be out of the building. So I'm going to try to move this along a little bit faster. We're going to limit some of the back and forth questioning. I want to make sure we get through all of our elected officials. I know some of the reps at the end, like Rep Garcia and Rep Alco, sometimes they wind up getting cut short. I want to give them their time tonight. Moving on to U.S. Army Duty Officer.
Oh, hello. I had a question for him regarding the Navy EIS.
Tara, you are not recognized. Thank you.
Oh, but this is really important. This is the
Tara,
Navy EIS,
please
February 11th deadline.
U.S. Army Officer, United States Army Duty Officer. Seeing none? Thank you. U.S. Representative Ed Case, quarterly report. Not seeing his assistant, Nestor, online. Okay. Mayor Blangiardi's representative, you are up.
Good evening, Chair Clark and board members, Mark Unamine with the city representing Mayor Blangiardi. I don't have any updates, but I'll take any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. Questions from members of the board?
I'll ask one.
Mr. Rogers?
So just recently, the Parks and Rec, they repaved half of the West Lock Shoreline Park. So they repaved from Honouliuli Stream to a sink park, essentially, almost to a sink park. And now there's a whole nother section from the Honouliuli Stream all the way to the edge of Waipahu. And that portion, the pavement in that area is in pretty bad condition. So we're just wondering if the intention is to pave that section next, because they just paved the one section and then they stopped their work. So I just wanted to know if that's in line to be repaved within this year or next couple of years, or what the plan is. Thank you.
Thank you. I will find out from DPR and get back to you guys.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilmember District 1, Andrea Tupola, or representative.
Hi, aloha chair, I'm here. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me on. I did include into the board packet in an email some information regarding resolutions that I have submitted recently. One of them was in opposition to game rooms and state legislation that's moving that I am supporting. I also submitted information about a resolution that passed today out of committee regarding standing up a Hawaiian language commission so that we can further establish laws and policies around the language. And then I did include a flyer for our homeless outreach program. And I think a response to one of your letters, and then just lastly, a resolution regarding school resource officers. In the school resource officer resolution, which passed out of committee today, it regards our relationship with DOE and HPD, which we're about to sign an MOU, and this would be for West Side schools. These would not be security guards. This would not be metal detectors or guns. This would be a very proactive approach to working with the students, parents, and administration to ensure safety on campus, kind of similar to what we used to have with DARE. But I am going to go again to Maui to meet with the principals and resource officers just to make sure I know how it's working. Every other county has school resource officers except for our island. So I'm hoping that with an 89-day hire, we wouldn't be taking any officers off the road. We'd be getting in officers that are either retired or with law enforcement background, and they would be trained in the National School Resource Officer Training Program. So I'll conclude there. Thank you, board members, for your service. Lastly, there is still openings if people want to run for neighborhood board. I believe the deadline is February 21st, and I posted information and a link on my social media. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. Moving on to Councilmember Toba.
Chair, neighborhood board, members of the community, people online. First off, I'd like to thank Principal Greenland and Senator Favela for helping us maintain continued awareness of the lack of bus service connecting Iroquois Point and Kapalina homes. The dangerous situation creates for our youth as they walk to and from school. So my office is actively working with DTS Deputy Director Noichi and administration to find solutions. And as details become more solid and sustainable, we'll encourage DTS to come and present the plans to the neighborhood board. In the interim, however, with the safety of our youth in mind, we are in talks with City DTS and the State Department of Transportation about installing additional traffic safety measures along along North Road. We are hoping to find balance and making sure that we are keeping that road safe. Also, we'll be hosting another volunteer brush and debris cleanup along North Road on Saturday, March 15th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. If anyone is interested, please meet us at the LDS Church near the private middle section of North Road. You can find a printed reminder on page 7 in my bulletin. In related news, my office has been following up with State DOT about the dangerous crosswalk fronting Ilima Intermediate on Fort Weaver Road. DOT is currently studying the crosswalk to determine whether the crosswalk should be removed, relocated, or signalized. Findings of the study should come back around April of this year. As another update, my office is also receiving numerous complaints about speeding, red light infractions, and traffic safety on Kapolei Parkway. So HPD executed enforcement in the area and gave out a total of 37 citations for speeding, reckless driving, red light infractions. DTS has been asked to investigate the area for four-way stops and other traffic safety measures. Council passed Bill 52 on e-bikes and bike safety. The mayor is scheduled to sign the bill into law next week. The three main takeaways: helmet are required for all riders under 18 years of age. Any bikes 750 watts or above cannot be used on public streets. Reckless activities like wheelies should not be done on public streets. The claims for damages on the flooding were made, the flooding on the earlier Corp Council, because there are it's a legal case. CORE is advising us to not comment because we don't have the authority to speak on behalf of the administration. So with that, questions?
We're moving on. Thank you, Councilmember, and I appreciate you following up on that one topic. Thank you. Moving on to Board of Water Supply. Kelson Lee? Oh, okay. DOE, Department of Education. Seeing no representative in the meeting space or online. Governor Josh Green's representative? Not online? Okay. Hawaii Department of Transportation Quarterly Report. Mitch, are you giving the quarterly report? No? Okay. All right. Senate District 19, Senator Henry Aquino.
Aloha, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Ima Charlie.
Aloha, Chair. Board members, Nathaniel Ise representing Senator Aquino this evening. The office did email the report, and with that being said, I will be standing on my report. Also, I would like to apologize, Chair. I tried to get my camera to work, but for some reason it didn't work.
Okay, is that your full report?
That's my full report, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Senate District 20, Senator Kurt Favela.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things going forward. Councilman Toba talked about bus services. So we had the meeting with the mayor, as he knows. For whatever reason, the director that was in charge of moving this thing forward retired. never notified anybody on the meeting. So the military, Marines are still in contact and Capilina is in contact. So now they're talking about having shortage of money. So my thing was, you're adding all of these beautiful routes all around outside of our community. Why can't we divert some of that resources to Capilino? So they want $800,000. Later on after the meeting, the mayor was persistent in trying to get some kind of service there. So the DTS director said that they're going to try look something during the summer to try something early morning and afternoon or evening to see how it turns out. And that's pretty much that about the bus route. In just recently at legislation, our bills that had been introduced, about 10 of them is crossing over, and it has to do with breast cancer, SB 189 for relating to cancer screening, SB 191 relating to energy assistance, SB 199 relating to Hawaiian culture, SB 202 relating to renewable energy, SB 215 relating to towing companies, SB 612 relating to rent and building equity, SB 617 relating to environment, SB 624 relating to Prince Kuhio portrait, SB my eyes is blurry, SB 964 relating to waste to energy, and then the last one is SB 1272 relating to towing. Those are the bills that's crossing over. If you guys can support it going forward, it's going to help us with a lot of stuff that we just was talking about, the community, about towing, getting cars off the road in a timely manner. And like Corporal Pagan said, they're not going to be driving around looking for guys with expired tags to go ahead and tow their vehicles. That was one of the concerns in the hearing, but just to try to get those cars in a timely manner off the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Moving on to Senator Mike Gabbard, District 21. You're up online or in the physical meeting space?
Yes. Aloha Chair, Board, and community members. I'm Melanie June, Senator Gabbard's community liaison. The senator sends his best and he invites you all to read his February newsletter. I'll put that link into the chat. But what I really wanted to let you all know is that this Saturday, February 15th, Senator is hosting his monthly Listen Story meeting from 9 to 10 a.m. at the Villages of Kapolei Rec Room number 2. And there's a Zoom link also available upon request. You could just email our office and I could send that over to you. But it's a great chance to share your thoughts and ask questions and discuss anything community related directly with Senator Gabbard. But other than that, feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions.
Okay, is that your report? Is that your final report?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. We appreciate it. Moving on to Representative District 39, Representative Elijah Pierik. Don't see him physically online. Okay. Moving on to District 40, Representative Julie Reyes Oda.
Okay, so on my newsletter on the front has two pictures. One is from the James Campbell High School students who came to visit my office during the secondary school conference. They just, I believe it's created for them to learn about civic engagement. The second picture is the Pu'uloa Range Training Facility. Former Representative Rose Martinez had put forth a HR 18 in 2024 about creating a work group for the PRTF. I put forth a resolution already out for signatures, but this is to extend that work group for 2 years to 2027. On the backside is the bills. I know on the top it says introducer signed on. Sorry, it is just introduced by me. For the one on the top, which is capital improvements, as Chair John had mentioned, there are a couple things, and basically in 3 parts my CIP requests are for. One is for, and he's correct, the 1.5 million for the library improvements. There were school improvements also that were requested for Campbell, Ilima, Ka'imiloa, Iroquois Point, and Po'akea. And the last thing was talking about road improvements, and that was 3 requests. One was for the design and construction for a sidewalk gap on Fort Weaver Road from Geiger to Keone'ula Boulevard. The other was for a shared use path on Fort Weaver from Kilaha Street to Pu'uloa Beach Park. And the third was for a road extension, Keonui extension, they'll call it, but that's, when you're looking at it, it's Keonui to Renton to create that part there. When you're looking at my bills, if you want to circle them or follow along, I can tell you the ones that are still alive as of today. So the ones that have been heard and are still moving along is in the first section on public education, HB 838, about a bonus for national board certified teachers. In the their cost of living was all about condos, that's all gone. Under public safety, 836 and 1413. The only reason those are alive is because it is only referred to one committee, and that committee still has the availability of next week to be able to hear that bill. Ones that are not mentioned on there are bills that are still alive that I am the primary introducer, but it came from someplace else, which is our minority caucus put together HB 288, which is about school bus services and finding alternative transportation for the school bus. HB 730 was brought on because of the female student athletes here at Campbell High School who sued because of the their use of facilities when they're doing athletics. And that one is for 5 civil rights compliance office positions to help with not only Title IX, but also other civil rights office laws. And ones that are still alive that aren't on there for mine. So 2 that are dead are me asking for an increase in money for ABA services for kids who have autism that are Medicaid enrollees. That's dead. Another one that's dead of mine, which is fiscal notes. Me asking for the financial impact to be stated on every bill that's going to be voted on in committee, for them to make sure that they produce the fiscal notes or the dollar amounts on all bills. That's dead. 2 that are still alive are HB 1412, which is the Sunshine Law for Neighborhood Boards. That one is still alive because it's only through Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs, so it hasn't been scheduled. Again, it can die next week. And the last one is HB 1414, relating to procurement. And that one is me looking at awarding bids that's most beneficial for the taxpayers. So I think that's it as far as for bills introduced, and I can take any questions on any of them or anything else that you guys want to ask.
Thank you, Rep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Moving on to Representative David Alcos, District 41.
Aloha Chair, aloha members. First of all, I want to say happy Valentine's Day for you guys tomorrow. And, don't forget to buy your wife a flower. Some of the things that I want to share with you guys, that we've been working on in our community with our CIP monies that we're trying to get. I put in a lot of funds. They kind of changed the financial system in the getting CIP for the schools. As you work with the chair, they structured it where the school wasn't coming out to us and asking for funds, but I put in a lot of money for the schools anyway to look at oversee costs and see how it's going to work. But I also put in some CIP money for Coral Sea Road. And I put in about $10 million out there to try to get the sports complex for the city and county and help out with that. As I talked to Augie about it, the city wasn't really doing anything financially yet on it. So, and hopefully we can get something moving. And if I have to look for government grants, I'm going to continue pushing on and with the sports complex. Also want to say that this Ever Beach Community Park, there was a tree fell down about a year and a half ago, smashed the dugout. The kids didn't have a place to play baseball here at the community park, and it just got fixed. The dugout is in. I think they're waiting on the bench to paint them. So we just want to say thank you and big mahalo to the city and county for fixing out the dugout out at the Ever Beach Community Park. And I also want to say that they started construction over the past years. The board members and community, Kimberly Pine, worked on trying to get some money for Oniula Beach Park, and where they're starting construction and fixing the irrigation. And I believe that's phase 1 is still going on, and we're still working on financing, getting money for phase 2, where the new bathroom where the surfers are continue to work on. I'm going to continue asking for more CIP money for phase 3, as we work all the way down to complete the build out of Oniula Beach Park. I know it's taking some time, with the permits, the plans, and the financial, but I believe that we have a great team with working with Andrea, Augie, with the people that we built relationships with. There were some guys that changed jobs, at the city level, and we have to work again and build more relationships. But I just want to say that construction is on the way. And let's see what else. Okay, well, anyway, I'm just here for take questions and want to just tell you guys, whatever you guys need or how can I help you guys, and I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Rep. Seeing no questions, moving on to Representative Diamond.
Okay.
Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Rep,
Go ahead.
actually, he has a question for the previous rep.
So I just realized we had more time and he was shooing people off, and I actually had a couple questions for Julie, but I don't want.
Representative Alcos, about your sex trafficking bill, is it still alive? The HB 155.
It's a lot of my bills that is on this. It's hard to pass. I've been trying to get a lot of these bills passed through it, as knowing as a Republican. It's hard to pass some bills. I have some guys that been there 12 years, 14 years. For one, Gene Ward, 17 years. He passed maybe 2 bills. My other friend passed for 12 years, 1 bill. And it's a challenge. But my position there is to build relationships. I don't look at a person as a Democrat or Republican, and we treat each other nice. And I believe that's the way we're going to continue serving the people, by, not disrespecting one another. And hopefully, I can get something passed and want that relationship building out there.
Thank you, Rep. Rep Garcia, if I could actually hold off a moment. Reyes Oda, if you could return to the podium. Thank you, Rep Alcos.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, thank you, Rep. Reyes Oda. I didn't mean to call you Julie. I'm sorry, I missed what you said about the shared use paths between Kilaha and Pu'uloa Beach Park.
Oh, the CIP request?
Yeah.
So construction for a shared use path on Fort Weaver Road from Kilaha Street to Pu'uloa Beach Park. And there was a construction for $866,500.
And so what's the status of that request right now, did you say?
Oh, the CIP bills are still waiting. You're not
okay.
gonna hear anything from it till later. Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess, so I don't, yeah, okay, well, we could talk more about. Did HDOT ask you to put that in?
Yes.
Okay,
So what I did was I made them come to my office and I asked for requests so that would be delineated what those items would be.
okay, and it just like for a heads up for you and the community as well, is that, so they said that they were gonna be designing it, doing the design this year, or last year actually, but then because of all that construction happening, They said they were waiting, so they were already talking about doing a design. So I just that's good that they're.
Okay, so that's why they probably asked me to
Yeah.
put it in, yeah.
And then the other question was with regards to the HR 80, or the continuance for the PRTF working group. When will you find out about that?
I believe resolutions are due on March 7th, and I'm probably going to have to ask somebody who was here longer than me, how long and when resolutions get passed. And we'll know by then. No, not a month later. So it's due from us, so my office, by March 6th or 7th. And then last year, Martinez got it signed in on April 12th, 2024. So I'm going to assume that it'll probably be in April sometime that they start approving those.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anywhere in the library?
Anywhere. That's part of the CIP request. So the request is in. What I did talk to the librarian about, and I'm going to be, I know that on our side, we have a radio show that they put on, which is hard for me because I don't listen to the radio, but I'm going to have to be on one and host it. I had the head librarian, Stacy Aldrich, say she's going to come on March 18th when I'm doing, I don't know what station it's on. 94.3 at 4 to 5. So if anybody wants to hear the most boring 1 hour, I'm going to have Stacy Aldrich. And boring because of me, not because of her.
Can you talk specifically about the library CIP request and what it will do?
Oh, so, okay. So the library CIP request, it says, and this request also came from the librarian because I went to them and asked them to write me up a detailed thing. I didn't just want to write generic things in there. So specifically for the library, what they gave me for that was plans and design for improvements to the library building, meeting room, and property to expand services and programs, including improvements to the roof, parking lot, entrance, bathrooms, air conditioning, ground and site improvements, energy efficiency, building improvements for efficiency and safety, and other related equipment and appurtenances. And then they gave me the total is 1.5 million.
So the question I have is labor covered anywhere in there? And the reason why I ask is because when I was at the Capitol building this past Monday, the state librarian said they only get 33 hours. And apparently when the DOE and the state library system were initially put together for many of the schools that co-locate the libraries there was funded positions from DOE and funded positions from the state, and they overlap because, you can't have a person working 60 hours a week, Monday through Monday. So is there any funds allocated for labor, or can they not do that in the CIP?
Not for CIP. CIP or capital improvement.
Track.
Yeah.
Okay. Mitch?
The chair was talking about Monday's hearing about the library, the state library, and then at the Senate hearing, it's different upstairs,
Okay, so
downstairs.
Senate.
So I think the state librarian said they're gonna, the question was, I think the big question was the school doesn't have the access to come into the facility during school hours. Now, she said can have access, but you need a librarian from the, if I remember correctly, from the school to come in, or a teacher to bring them in, wait with them and go out. But now I think at the end of the whole conversation is she said that, correct me if I'm wrong, that they'll work together. They're gonna give the principal the key for access to the library. I'm hoping it's the whole library, not just come in through here, bathroom and this room. Because they're gonna shut down that door. You know what I mean? Because they have their rules and whatever it is. So if you or whoever rep can be the mediator, that's the problem that we're having, is that the schools does not have the access to use the facilities in the morning, afternoon, or after whatever weekends, because they close on the weekends, can't use them, so.
I think I can only speak that I taught social studies my first year. I think it was your first year, 2006 to 2007 at Campbell. So I since it wasn't math, I got to bring my kids here. Where I brought the librarian was Sandy Park, and I made an appointment with her. I brought my class, and she really just took over the class and taught them. I believe now there's no librarian, right, board member Corey? There's no librarian after Sandy Park. Library assistant, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And so I think with this being, I think one of the 12 public and school libraries in the state, I think that, and also what was it, if you listen to that Senate hearing, you're going to hear them say that the employees here are not employees of the Department of Ed. And so therefore, it's unusual that you would drop students during the school day on another departments and ask them to watch the kids, I think is probably what the issue would be.
Well, Mitch asked me to correct him if he's wrong. You weren't wrong, but you weren't right. The issue is labor hours. Again, with no DOE funded position, the only person that's running the library is the librarian assistant, and they only are allotted 33 hours per week. So, you know, if they come in at 7 and they work throughout the day, say they get out at 7, because most of us want to go to the library after hours as well, that's 12 hours. So after 3 days, they would have 36 hours. But if the DOE funded a position as well, they could overlap those hours, and then that would work. Because ideally we want the library open 7 days a week, at least like Couple A, maybe not every day, maybe not. I think Sundays they're closed, right? Couple A libraries closed. But but if you had 2 funded positions that would overlap, 33 hours for one, say 33 or 40 hours for the other one, you'd have 77 hours, which you could allocate 7 to 3 every day, and then a few hours in the afternoon. So that was the issue. But at the end of the hearing, the Senate committee chair and co-chair said, can you just work it out? And they agreed to go work it out amongst themselves. Don't know what that entails, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to Representative District 42, Representative Diamond Garcia.
Aloha Chair, board members, thank you for hanging in there. Audience, thank you for being here. You all should have my newsletter. Just want to recap some of the CIP project requests for this session, and these are aligned with the requests from the DOE as well. Eva Elementary School, which by the way just had their Lincoln Day celebration yesterday, a great tradition there for decades. Found out that the Eva Elementary School has the largest elementary population in the state. And especially with the growing Ho'opili, lots of homes being built. So we've introduced $3 million for additional classrooms to be built at the Eva Elementary School until the other schools, East Kapolei High School and the Ho'opili Elementary School is built sometime soon. Campbell High School, 1.3 million for ADA program access and 3 million for the Honouliuli Middle School, that's by the Kroc Center, for the installation of signage and pedestrian improvements in the area. One thing I do want to highlight, and it's on the front page of our newsletter, is my firm stance against the removal of invocations in the House. Since statehood in 1959, they've always opened official deliberations with an invocation. Happens on the federal level, other levels, most state legislatures. Here in Hawaii, it was a long-standing tradition. Unfortunately, that was removed from the official record going forward. So they're still having invocations. It's just not going to be recorded and on the record. So there's a QR code there to watch my floor speech in opposition to that. A couple weeks ago, we held our community town hall meeting at Honouliuli Middle School, heard from community members there and have been following up with their requests. Back page, a brief recap of our bill package, and that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Thank you, Rep.
All right, thank you.
Have an awesome day. Moving on to committee reports. We have several. Just yay or nay, Parks?
I got a quick one here. So it's what Representative Alcos was talking about. So the project, if you've seen over at Honolulu Beach Park, that's happening is the irrigation project. They had to go through several environmental reviews and all that. So we kept pressuring them as a Parks Committee and with our representatives as well. So they're finally doing that, and hope, that'll be, that whole rear field will be hopefully a nice ball field where kids and teams can actually use it for sports and things like that. So it'll be great. And then on the other side is the Comfort Station is a project that CIP funds were put in by multiple reps, and portions of that CIP were approved for the creation of the plans. And so we were contacted recently. They had done the initial draft of the plan about 6 months ago, and then they came back last month and asked us, they had to reposition it a little bit further back because of the maritime zone and rules of being too close to the ocean, and asked us on certain orientations. And so we gave them the update on what was the recommended orientation for that. And we also asked them, why is this taking so long, and how do we can you, can we move this forward? And basically we're just trying to put pressure on them. So the idea is that will be available and that plan will be finalized. So then we can actually work with our reps to get the monies to actually build the darn thing, right? So anyway, it's advancing. So I just wanted to give that update.
Excellent. Good news. Mitch has a question for you.
When they, the field where they put it down, water lines, are they gonna put back the backstop, the baseball backstop?
I have no idea, but we could ask them that and then we'll bring it to the next meeting. Hopefully if they respond to us.
Okay.
Which they do. They've been very good. So
Education. Seeing none? Transportation Committee?
I just want to talk about the Leeward Bikeway. The Leeward Bikeway is completed 2 months ago. And what it is, it's a pedestrian shared use path bikeway that goes from Halava by the stadium all the way to Eva Kapolei by the Hawaiian Historic Railway Society. So it's a shared use path off the roadway. They installed interpretive signs. So at different locations, you can go read the signs and it talks about the railway or what was there or the bridges. If you can walk 10 miles or you can ride 10 miles, go take a look at it. It's pretty cool. And we just got to get more people on it to make it a place that people go and we can get improvements then the more people we get. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Moving on to Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, OMPO.
A lot of stuff is going on. I'll write a good report for next month.
Thank you, John. Moving on to Public Safety Community Outreach. Seeing none. Economic Development. Seeing none. Climate Change. Seeing none. Hawaiian Affairs. Ms. Reyes Oda, did you officially take yourself off that committee? Okay, all right. Military Affairs. Mr. Plowman, anything?
Yes, Chair. My apologies. We had planned on doing an online web meeting for next week, but I learned that we also have to have a physical location. So I have a request in for April 17th for the room you are sitting in right now, in with Mr. Jones, and hopefully we can secure that room for the week after the April neighborhood board meeting and give good advance notice for a Military Affairs Committee meeting on April 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plowman. Yes, good.
yeah, just a response to that, Plowman. There's actually, I can't remember what it is, but there's a challenge. I think there's a charge actually to use this room if it's not for this meeting. Jeff can go. There's something that makes it not easy. I think it's a charge. And so that's why the Parks Committee, we typically meet at a Sing Park and Jeff facilitates that as well. So I would recommend seeking out that location, Mike.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Thanks very much, Alex.
And before we wrap up the final announcements, would like to have this one important announcement from the Neighborhood Commission Office. Candidate registration is now open for the 2025 Neighborhood Board elections. All current board members of the 2023-2025 board term will need to register for the new term. Registration and candidate profile forms will not roll over from the previous neighborhood elections. These are important dates to remember. Candidate and voter registration has already begun, effective December 20th. Friday, February 21st, 2025, the candidate filing and voter registration deadline is that day. So you have until Friday, February 21st to register online or via mail. Friday, April 25th, voting begins, and Friday, May 16th, voting ends. For information, you can contact Neighborhood Commission Office or Google NCO Hawaii. This is a long URL here. I don't think you want me to read that. Next regular meeting scheduled for Thursday, March 13th at 7 p.m. virtually via WebEx and in person at this beloved Eva Beach Public Library. Regular board meetings are broadcast every first Sunday at 6 p.m. and every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. on Olelo Digital Channel 49. And with that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.